And welcome back.
Welcome, everybody, to what
Welcome
is going to be
the final One Piece discussion
two
for a
men
while
yelling at a screen.
about a silly little kid's drawing from 800 years ago for approximately 17 hours. So strap in.
Oh, strap in, everybody. We got some shit to say,
We got
gang.
some shit to say. I've got some big swings that I want to make after you've been sort of one-upping me on the big swing game lately with the Vivi Pawpaw fruit thing. After my Frankie is a traitor crashed and burned
Big
immediately.
swing and a big
A big
miss.
miss. I've never been happier to miss. All right, I've never been happier to miss.
Honestly, yeah.
But I'm excited. Elbaph, our first arc together, where it is ongoing completely.
Yep.
I mean,
We are both.
we just read 1139 like a week ago,
Yep.
and
I
I'm
guess
excited
we
to
should
run
also
in.
probably address. It's been a few weeks
It's
since
been a
we've
few
done one of
weeks.
these.
Originally, this was supposed to be a recording after we had read 1138, and then I was sick, and Misfit was also under the weather, and so that fell through. And so now we're here. I am still a little sick, not as sick as I was at the mural time. So if I cough or sound a little weird, my apologies. I'm going to try and mute myself, but it might happen.
But we got 15, 16 chapters to
15,
talk
16,
about.
something like that. And a lot of
And
Yamato
it's still probably
stuff.
gonna, yes, a lot of Yamato stuff,
Stuff.
lot of theory talk,
Theory
maybe
talk,
about
mural
the mural
talk,
and stuff.
Scopper Gaban, all kinds of shit. This is from 1124 to what is the current chapter at time of recording 1139, in case you're here in the distant future and Elbaph is not over. Um,
Mhm.
are you ready to jump in?
I'm ready to just jump into it.
Jump in at the start of 1124 where we get Vivi. Oh my god.
Hell yeah, I love Evie.
I love Vivi. I'm so
We
ready
were
for her
just
to
talking
be,
about
yeah.
how good she looks in this outfit,
She is
and
just so wonderful.
I'm so excited for her to come back
I'm so excited
and
for her to come
be
back in a full swing in the story and be relevant and get on the crew and
yes,
everything, and she's gonna be the goat. You know what I'm saying?
she is gonna be the
And I love how much of an attitude she has with Morgan's. Like she is the
right.
only person that does not put up with Morgan's shit at all. She is like constantly like at his like nipping at his heels, and it's so
hmm
good.
Yep.
Especially contrasted with Wapple,
Fucking
who is
Waffle
also here.
just being pathetic.
Yeah, just being his
Which is
usual pathetic suit.
what I love to watch from Wapple.
Yeah, I don't want to see Wapple thriving. We
Exactly.
saw enough of that with the cover story and the Wapo medal and shit. I prefer my Wapple to be a sopping wet mess who is crying in the corner.
Exactly.
And that's what he's been ever
But
since the world government's been trying to kill him.
not in the same way that I want Sanji to be
Yeah, no,
pathetic.
Sanji's that's
That's
an
different.
affectionate. It's sopping wet
Exactly.
crying in the corner affectionate versus stopping wet crying in the corner parentheses Wapple.
Derogatory. But yeah, we don't get too much on Vivi in this little
No,
bit,
not in this
but
snippet. We get more of her throughout
not that
the section though, a little bit.
it's just never enough Vivi.
Well, it will never be enough Vivi until she's back for real.
Exactly.
So then we move into
Yeah.
Kizaru, which I think is really interesting, especially after your talk on Kizaru last time,
Yeah. I
because
think that my Kizaru theory stocks are a little up.
they're definitely a little up because I mean this whole I just fucking hate Akainu.
Yeah.
I guess is the
Look,
long and
Akainu
short is that
does suck.
Akainu is the worst. Like even to the
But I
people that he is
love
allied with, he's the worst.
Borsalino. I love Borsalino talking shit to Akainu.
Yeah, not like absolutely laying into his bitch ass.
Hmm.
Like tears running down his face, snot running out of his nose. If you have time to sit there and doubt me, then come over here and see my work for yourself, you ungrateful brat.
Yeah.
Cook his ass. He's keeping his ass in that stupid office, you know? And like the
It's brutal to watch this scene of Borsalino who like clearly did not want to do any of
yeah,
this.
is like clearly devastated with the fact that he had to kill his friend, maybe father figure.
Yeah, it, very much seemed like a father figure to him, or at least very close friend.
Yeah,
You know,
and it's
he was
just
there. He was
devastating.
helping build punk records, help build Egghead, and then watching him get gunned down by himself. And then
And
Kizaru also had to like take out the Marines who saw the fucking the elders on the island. He says every last one of them is asleep and foaming at the mouth, which I don't think they're really asleep.
no, no, no. I think the asleep and foaming in the mouth is they got hit by the Conqueror's hockey
Oh, you're right.
from Joy
Yeah,
Boy.
never mind. That's right.
But I
Whoopsie.
think it's really interesting to see another one of these admirals just become so completely disillusioned with the world government,
Yeah, with the
as at
Marine
least
system.
partially as a result of Luffy. This is like at least three of them now.
Right.
Because like Kuzan, I mean Kuzan seems to have mostly been pushed away by Sakazuki, but it's possible that like
Yeah.
the events of post Denny's lobby and seeing Robin and everything
I
like
mean,
pushed him in a certain
also
direction.
Marineford,
And
you know?
Marineford, yeah, like Luffy standing up in Marineford. And then
Yeah. But
Fujitora
like,
obviously was moved enough by the Straw Hats to help the Revolutionary Army free slaves in Marihua, which I feel like is something that we are
which I
not
feel
addressing
like
at all.
we have not gotten anything about that. Like, what happened
Like,
to
is he still
Fujitora?
an admiral? Did they just kill him? Like what happened? Where is Fujitora right
Surely they
now?
didn't just off-screen Fujitora. That
Surely
would be
not.
weird,
But like, surely they can't just leave him as a Marine admiral after that. I don't know. I think
right?
it's really interesting to keep seeing the way that these people who've climbed all the way to the top of the Marine force get disillusioned by it, and it's
Hmm.
interesting like how that is different for Ryokugyu and Sakazuki,
Yeah.
who at least
And I
so
guess you
far
can
are kind of
say,
all in on the Kool-Aid.
I guess a few discussions back we were talking about why Garp is still this sort of like Marine man, even if he's, retired. And maybe it is because he just never took that position as
Like
admiral.
never strove to the highest heights.
Because like it was stated by a fucking Buddha man whose name is escaping me right now.
Sengoku.
Sengoku, that like Garp was offered the position of admiral multiple times, but like he never took it, and so he was always getting his orders from Sengoku and from the admirals, not from the world government itself.
Yeah, like not directly
So
receiving orders from the
maybe he
elders.
was able to like like compartmentalize it enough to be like, well, this is what I need to help Sengoku out because his boss is being a dick.
Maybe,
But I don't know.
maybe. I don't know. It's still very interesting. I don't know. Garp is still interesting. Anyways,
Yeah, very much so.
moving
But
forward, I want to say before we talk about Lilith, because I think there's some interesting stuff here. I gotta mention
mhm.
this Frankie fit.
Dude,
This
hell
is
yeah,
cowboy
hell
hat,
yeah.
leather jacket. Frankie is like the best he's ever looked. This shit is
It's the
so
best he's
gas.
ever looked, and I'm so pissed. Look, I love Viking Frankie, the Elbaph fit.
Yeah, Elbaph fit is
This
good.
shit is so good.
It's crazy
What the
that
heck, Oda?
the two best looks Frankie has ever had is the one right before Egghead and right after Egghead, and they both last like two chapters.
Right?
Like
What's up with
the
that?
ponytail Frankie and the cowboy hat Frankie are unbelievably cool. And it makes me sad that we lose it so fast. Although I do quite like the Egghead and Elbaph designs. I think Oda is finally getting into the groove of giving Frankie cool outfits,
Yeah, this is true.
which is a nice change for
I
Frankie.
think all of the Elbaph designs rule.
I like the Elbaph designs. We'll get to more of the Elbaph designs when they show up.
When we get to Elbaph.
Because we now have
Um,
Lilith and
Lilith is on the boat,
on the boat and reveals to us that Vegapunk is alive, sort of.
sort of.
Um,
Um,
which is, I mean, we get more of it in
he
a few chapters, but it's like, I guess we can just talk about it now. The like, we've sort of Frankenstein monstered them all together into like a Megazord,
yeah,
and they have, which is hilarious for one.
really interesting because I don't know if you picked up on this.
Oh,
Um, the name of the of 1125 is what death means,
yeah, I
and I think that's a
did.
very interesting question to ask when we have I mean, we've got stuff in the beginning of this which we'll talk about, but I want to talk about the Vegapunk stuff first, where like you have all of these different personalities of Vegapunk still existing as like distinct parts of himself within the Punk Records that's now up in like a
Up in the
Sky Island
sky.
cloud. And yet there is no Stella here.
Yeah. And I mean, we know what's going on with the Stella. We've read to that
Yeah,
point. But the Stella is not like alive in the same way that Lilith and the like Pythagoras and Edison and Shaka and York and the rest of them
right,
are, right? There he's not like currently moving around as like a thinking moving entity connected to the punk records. He's
right.
like frozen in a test tube thing.
Yeah. Also a little sort of somewhat interesting that I guess all of them are robots. I guess I didn't really get that from like Lilith and York because they like look human.
But yeah,
But like
they're
in this
robots.
scene where we see the Frankenstein, we see like a bunch of different like York bodies and like Edison faces
Yeah, they have like a
and
bunch of
heads and
spare
stuff.
parts of all of them. And they're like, maybe we
Yeah.
should throw out the York ones. Seems a
But I
little
think it's
concerning.
really interesting what like the question he's asking about like what does it mean to die when you are
The Vegapunks.
like when you're a hive mind basically.
Yeah.
Um, but we get a
Anyways,
little bit more on that later. Let's talk about
can I
the
talk about Rob
Elder.
Lucci first?
Oh yeah. You want to talk about Rob Lucci
I want
first? I'm
to I,
sure.
I I want to very briefly talk about Rob Lucci. I unfortunately, and this is Oda's fault, not my fault. The shit at the end of Elbaph right now with the fucking mural has so
Uh-huh.
monopolized my thought process on this whole section
Y-
that
Yeah.
like the details, a lot of these details at the beginning part, I have not spent as much time as I normally would like to have spent, especially on
hmm
Rob Lucci because as mentioned last time, I am enamored with Rob Lucci, and I think he's really fascinating.
I think we finally found your
My
character
character is Rob Lucci somehow,
who you're like unexplicably drawn to and wants to see, you know, more of the story. Where mine
and
is Bellamy and yours is Rob
Rob
Lucci.
fucking Lucci somehow, and we get literally two panels of Rob Lucci in this whole section, and it's
And I
him.
still think it's really
And I
interesting.
still think it's really interesting. It's him and Kaku walking off the boat. Where's Stussy? I killed her. And
And that's it.
Kaku's that's it. And I don't know if
Kaku's
I don't know whether
face.
or not I believe him. I think I do.
I don't believe
Kaku's
him.
I'm not sure. Kaku's face is so broken up about it.
I
That's
mean,
what's
yeah,
so
look,
hard to tell.
Kaku does look stone cold right now, but
I
I
don't think
don't
he did
think
it
that Rob
either. I
Lucci
think it's
killed him.
hard. I don't know. After all my speech last time about where I think Rob Lucci as a character is moving towards, I find it hard to believe that he killed him,
Right.
especially completely off screen.
Right. That's my thing is I feel like a character death like Stussy being off screened, especially with everything we got with her and Kaku in the last bit, it would just I mean, and maybe that is what he's going for, you know, he's going for this sort of unceremonious like Rob Lucci lashing out or something.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. After Rob Lucci had that whole moment with the Elder, where he's desperately begging them not to kill Kaku, for him to turn
Right.
around and kill an ally of his that he trusted for however long without even seeing it, to me
Right.
feels like a strange decision if that is truly what has happened to Stussy. I am desperately excited to see more of Rob Lucci. I think that he is. I really do think he's disillusioned with the world government and the elders at this point after seeing what they truly are.
Or at least on his way, you know.
Yeah, or at least like on the cusp of that happening, and I'm really
Right.
interested to see where him and Kaku are going because I think that these two are going in a different direction than the other CP9 people who are not here. That are
hmm
all CP0 members up in Marihua that were messing with Vivi a while ago, back in the Reverie, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on to poor Saint J. Garcia Saturn, who I've never been happier to see a man get turned into a fucking skeleton. You know what I'm saying?
I've never been more happy to see a man get sucked. You know what I'm saying?
so true. I that's what I've been saying this whole time. The moment where Emu sucks off St. J. Garcia Saturn. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. You know what? You started it. Okay. Anyways,
I started it.
we have a
Um,
moment where Figurland Garling walks in and he's like, "Hey, what's going on, my fellow elders? Nice to meet you. I'm the godhead of science and defense." And they're all like, "Huh? What are you? What? No, you're not." He's like, "Yes, I am. That's me." And then we cut back to J. Garcia Saturn, who gets um
sucked.
I sucked, I obliterated, he gets turned to dust. In
We
the end, he'll
see
just be
the
bones.
the black like demon smoke from the transformation just leave his body.
Yeah.
Um, which I think is somewhat of this is somewhat confirmation that I do think the elders are like impossibly old, and whatever this
Yeah.
power
Like
is what kept them
maybe
alive.
yeah, like he's ripping out the power and then without that he's like rapidly aging to 900 or whatever and so he's just a skeleton.
Yeah. Uh, but I was talking a little bit like last week with Lad about the reasoning behind this because it's very interesting. Why would Emu one elect Garling to be the godhead of science and defense? Because that feels like a weird move for like a holy knight.
Yeah.
And then also why? Well, what reason would Emu have to kill Saturn? And I think it is purely because Saturn is the one who we find out here at the beginning that Saturn is the one who like sanctioned the Iron Giant Emmet to be like kept and studied, and that is what released the giant blast of Joy Boy hockey that seemed to like hurt Emu. And I think it's just Emu being petty or being angry at
Yeah.
Garcia Saturn.
I would agree with you because I mean he does have or they, I don't want to say he for Emu, they have the mention where they say like, why did you allow Joy Boy to escape? But the other elders also allowed Joy Boy to escape by getting fucked up, right? Like it's
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
just Saturn, so it's more to it than just he failed to stop Joy Boy. Um,
Hmm.
and I think I mean I would agree with Misfit that it makes sense that it's because he didn't just get rid of Emmett, like he left
Hmm.
even one fraction of Joy Boy in the world,
Yeah.
and so he gets turned to bone.
Yep. He ends up a skeleton.
Yep, and good fucking riddance, I say.
Yeah. Honestly, fuck this guy.
I mean,
Like really,
who knows? Figurland
just the
Garling might be
worst.
worse. We do know that he like took pride in like killing innocent people during the events back in like the God Valley
Yeah, but
incident.
he didn't. But he didn't
But
like
he
try to
didn't like
ruin Kuma's life.
personally ruin Kuma's life forever. So honestly,
Yeah.
fuck Jay Garcia Saturn. I'm glad he's gone. Rip Bozo. Um, I don't. Do you have anything to say about Dragon?
um,
Because I still
I mean, not.
feel like I'm too lost to say anything about Dragon. I think he is still like. I just don't know what his goal
I
is. I mean,
don't
obviously
know.
his goal is to revolution swiftly, but like, what does that
Mhm.
entail other than maybe chasing the One Piece? I don't know.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, he was in the list of people who seem to be after the One Piece.
Yeah.
But Dragon just continues to be this confusing character to me that
Yeah.
is sort of, I don't know. Where does he fit into the
It's
bigger
interesting. I
picture is
think it's
still a
interesting
big
that
question
they
mark to me.
that they mentioned things like Tequila Wolf, the like giant bridge thing,
Yeah.
that Robin got sent to as like one of these mega structures that have been being built for centuries, presumably as like a contingency plan by the world government or the
For
elders
when
to
Emu floods the world
stave off
again.
the flood. I think it's really really interesting that this has been going on for so long And like this isn't like a new development that like, oh well, it's getting close. Maybe we should, whatever, whatever. They've been preparing for this for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Which I once
Um,
again raises questions about what Emu's goals really are,
right?
which I will sort of get to later.
Oh,
I have some
oh, okay.
thoughts, but I don't have concrete thoughts on that particularly. Uh, and then we move into the next chapter and we get a small little moment that I'm not going to cry at, where
I might.
I'm simply not going to cry because I'm built different. Where Bonnie is, while the rest of the giants and the Straw Hats are all partying and drinking and being merry, on the outside of the boat, Bonnie is sitting in Kuma's lap, held in his arms, as he's even ever so slightly smiling. She says to him, "We finally got the chance to see it together, the horizon at sea."
Yeah,
While
man.
presumably the drums, the dun 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 is all going.
Hmm.
Uh, I so desperately hope there's still some of Kuma left in there, man. I really do hope.
I mean, there has to be something
I
because he still
just,
has the pawpaw fruit,
he does
right?
still have the pawpaw fruit. He's not all the way gone. You gotta believe. Lilith can fix him, surely.
Surely.
And then we get a snippet of Barto.
Yeah. This is I freaking Shanks, man.
Shanks is
Shanks, what's going on with
Shanks is an
you?
interesting guy.
Shanks.
Shanks. I don't
Because
know.
we get this moment from like a month earlier after the whole thing that Barto did in his cover series. Um, he burned the flag of the Red Hair Pirates that were, protecting this island.
Yes, took claim for the Straw Hat Pirates.
Hmm. And he's apologizing to Shanks. And one of Shanks' crew members says, "This is a bottle of deadly poison. You need to go and make Straw Hat Luffy take this within the next month." Which, what if he just did? Huh,
Yeah,
Shanks?
like what if he? I mean, to be
I
fair,
mean,
it's not
it
poison.
wasn't poison.
Like Shanks knows that probably.
Yeah. But also, Shanks looks stone cold in this one panel.
Yeah, like have they done this to people with real poison before? Maybe.
uh,
I do think it's a great character moment for Barto to just immediately drink it himself.
Absolutely.
I think it
Absolutely.
says a lot about Barto as a character.
Mhm.
And I don't think Barto is dead.
No, I don't think so.
I think he's got a better chance than Kid does right now because they got blown up by the Shanks pirates and it says status unknown, not destroyed. So
Yeah. I do love this moment though, where Shanks is like, it makes you feel good how much they care for Luffy. And then Yasop's like, all right, but what if I killed this
all
guy?
right, but what if I killed them? These guys have seen my son. What if they make me see my son? I gotta blow their ship up. Fucking Yasop,
And they
dude. But
just
I think
fucking they just nuke the
they
Barto ship.
nuke the Barto ship. The going Mr. Luffy
Going Mr. Luffy.
is no more, which is sad. I don't know how these guys are gonna get out of this when they don't even have a navigator. But I'm sure we'll see them again. I want to briefly highlight one specific. I guess it's two panels, but one panel is the
Mhm.
shot where Barto, after thinking that he's poisoned, is crying, and it's his face split down the middle with Shanks's, and he screams out, "I sure wish I could have seen Mr. Luffy be the king of the pirates, though."
Mhm.
Because I think there's something about this panel, the way that Shanks is just so, like, deadpan serious, and the way that he's split down the middle with Barto is really, really, I think
Right.
it's interesting composition.
Interesting that Oda is literally paralleling them in these two panels.
Yeah.
And so what does that
What
mean?
does that mean? Why? And like obviously, I mean, there is the thing you mentioned a minute ago about where he says like, doesn't it feel good knowing how much they care for Luffy? But even still, I don't know. It's an
That
interesting
but this
shot.
space isn't giving anything like that.
It's a
This
strange
space to me
composition.
is saying like, yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? Now that
Which
he's
I
back on
don't
the,
like.
I don't like it. I don't want us to have to fight Shanks, but
I
it
don't
might
want Shanks to
happen.
die,
I don't
even
want
though he
Shanks to
has
be a
to.
bad guy,
And I
and I
it's
just don't
so
know
strange that
where.
it feels like Shanks is being made at least somewhat of
Yeah,
a bad
he
guy.
just keeps being framed like a villain visually.
Right.
And maybe that's to sow doubt for a certain someone who's about to show up before we learn that it's not actually Shanks. But I don't know, it might just be more to it than that. I just
It feels
it's
like there's more to it than that.
I keep getting held up by it.
Hmm. We get a little bit of Blackbeard.
Yeah, a little bit of Blackbeard. I don't have much to say about Blackbeard at the moment.
I mean, we know Moria got away,
We do know Moria got away, so
which is
Perona
cool.
Perona probably got him out thanks to Kobe's help.
Hmm.
So I'm happy to see that Moria is still around. Maybe he can go join Cross Guild and hang out with Bucky the Clown.
Hell yeah.
That would be great. I
I've
also
seen a
think
lot
it's
of people online talk about Moria being another method to like revive characters.
that is
Um,
true. He can do that, sort of.
sort of, but who
I
knows if
also,
that would ever happen.
yeah, I also want to point out. I don't have a lot to say about Blackbeard, but I want to point out that he has Lafitte like scouting the transports going up to Marihua
Yeah.
and like checking to see if they're actually starting to starve. And he's like, "Good. Stop enjoying the show. Get to prepping already. Already on top of it."
What are
What
we
the fuck
prepping?
are we prepping? And why
Is
is
it
it
going to be like a
always
hostile
Lafitte?
takeover of Marihua?
Maybe. I mean, we've certainly thrown around the idea that he's after Emu's power, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why
But
is
it
it
is
always
it's always
Lafitte?
Lafitte who's like what connection does he have to Marihua?
He's always, I mean, this is not the first time we've seen him sneak to Marihua. He's never
Right.
with the rest of the crew. He's always off doing something for Blackbeard.
Right. He's like Blackbeard's fixer. He's always
Yeah.
doing something else, preparing the next step. He's kind of like a Sanji almost.
Yeah, he seems to be, at least to me, he seems like Blackbeard's most trusted ally.
Right, exactly.
Because whenever an important deal, like something crucial to the plan is going on, Lafitte is the one there making it happen. I mean, he's the reason
Right,
that Blackbeard got the warlord position, which eventually got him the Quake fruit. So
exactly.
I can only shudder to think what plans Blackbeard has Lafitte working on now. Especially when he's
um,
about to learn all this information from fucking
wet-haired
Caribou,
caribou.
the wet-haired Caribou.
God, I hate that guy.
I really do hate that guy. And then we move into Legoland.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, the weirdest
What a
part
sh-
of this section.
what a strange piece of this puzzle.
It is easily, and then there's a lot of strange and confusing puzzle pieces, and it maybe is weird to think that Legoland is the one that confuses me the most. But it really is the puzzle piece that I don't see even a sliver of what it could be for.
Right.
And I'm not,
Like, is it?
I'm not so like full of myself that I think Oda's just like filling for time. Like I'm not stupid, right?
Yeah.
I think that Oda is doing something here akin to maybe what he was doing in Long Ring Longland, where he sets up an idea in a sillier setting so that when we go into a more
Hmm.
serious setting, we are primed to think about that idea.
Right.
And I wonder what it is, because I feel like this Legoland section is setting up something. And
Yeah.
maybe it's just setting up the concept of the world tree and multiple sun gods, if the theory that Loki maybe also is a sun god fruit user is true, which we'll get
Hmm.
to later, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it's for. I just don't know. It's just so, it's so odd.
Hmm.
To have this little like mini arc where the Straw Hats, part of the Straw Hats, deal with Roto, who's like trying to, I guess, keep them as his ultra rare pets or whatever.
Yeah. His figurines or
His
whatever.
figurine, his like action, his little, his he pulled, he got a rare pull in his gotcha game, you know, and then
Yeah.
like, and this is probably the first moment during this arc where another question that I think is really relevant throughout this whole arc, and I'll probably repeat multiple times, is why these specific characters? Why
Yeah.
specifically is it the East Blue crew and Chopper who are in Legoland and not anybody else?
Hmm.
I think it's possible that it has to do with the thing in the newspaper, which we'll get to, since these are the only people that were around during Alabasta. But even
Right.
still, is that all that this is doing? Is
Is
just
that
to get
is
them
that
away from the
it?
newspaper? It
Is it
seems
just a
like
separ is it just to separate the crew temporarily
it just
from
seems
that?
like there's more to it than that to me.
Hmm.
I don't know. The whole of
Um,
Legoland is really confusing to me, and I don't know what to think about it. I don't know if you have any thoughts that are more than what I've said there.
I don't I don't really nothing like fully formed, no fully formed thoughts at the very least. Like, I mean, it's interesting that we have this sort of like I think they call it at some point like the land of gods, where like you have these
Mm-hmm.
like a cat and a porcupine or something that are all referred to as gods.
Yeah, like the ear god and the cat god or whatever.
Yeah. But I don't have anything more substantial other than that. I think that's an interesting, way to phrase that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it feels
Maybe
very
it's
perplexing.
it's also interesting talking about a little bit a little bit further on how like when we get that one bit about like not overstaying your welcome in Elbaph, kind of gives me a similar sort of like vibe as how we had to break out of this place. There maybe is something there, but I
Maybe,
again
like maybe
I
freeing
don't
Loki
know.
will cause us to get trapped in Elbaph and we have to break out of Elbaph. So
Maybe.
like, because I feel like whenever Oda does little sections like this, they tend to be microcosms of something that's about to happen.
Right.
And so I
Like we
really
like you
just
get
like
you get Jaya that is like,
a
setting up stuff
microcosm
for
for
Skypiea.
Skypiea, right? You have
Long
Long
Ring
Ring
Long
Long
Land
Land
that
for
sets
Water
up.
7 Ennie's Lobby.
Hmm.
You have Impel Down for Marineford.
Yeah. These weird little a lot of the times more comedic sections that then lead into these big, world shaking actual plot points.
Yeah. And I really just want to know what Oda is doing here. And I guess this is the curse of being current now is
Right.
these
We
questions
have to
are
wait.
I don't get to answer these questions by spending 2 more weeks reading. I get to answer these questions by spending the next couple months reading every new weekly chapter. So,
Right.
um
Also, the Roto's like sun god outfit is
is very
strange as hell.
strange. He's got like the deer
The
head
skull, yeah, like the deer skull and
and
the
like the
weird like
staff. And like I wonder if
yeah,
maybe could this be, I don't know, once again the idea of that there's multiple sun god fruits maybe foreshadowing what a interpretation of the sun god that is more violent and destructive is than the one that Luffy is.
yeah,
But I don't know. I also think it's interesting that I don't know, and maybe this is once again just sort of thinking about why are certain characters in certain positions. That Chopper is the one that's not put in the thing
yeah.
initially.
He's not in the case.
Chopper is outside of the cage with the other animals, like the giant animals.
Hmm.
And then I wonder if these animals mean something. Like, are they just references maybe to Norse mythology, or is there something more to them?
Right.
I don't know. It's just so very strange to me.
Hmm.
I'm sort of quickly scanning through this section to see if there's anything that grabs my eyes that I want to mention.
Yeah. It's also,
Um,
I mean, it's he also does have like other humans in here.
yeah, who've been here for who knows how long. Long
right?
enough that they seem to
They're
think
just
that this is a real place, like a real world that they're in.
yeah.
Unless they're just doing that to appease Roto,
It is yeah.
which is certainly possible.
Yeah, I don't like I don't have
There's also,
any theories or anything
I
that I
don't
want to
know,
like go
I
out on
also
a
want to
limb
point
on.
out, I want to point out this line from Roto that I think is interesting. And I don't have a
Mhm.
lot, I don't have any grand thoughts about it, but I think it's interesting and I want to mention that I'm thinking about it. He says, "This too is how the world works, a story without a script unfolding in my little walled garden. I underestimated them. They are most exciting after all. Now the world I created has developed its own evil and its own heroes. History is being written before my eyes. This is the charm of my little live dolls, the mini world that belongs only to me." Because
Yeah, that's interesting.
this feels like it's setting up for like a an arc wide villain and not Rhoda.
Yeah.
You know, like this feels like a speech that would be coming from our next big major antagonist, which when I was reading this, I presumed was going to be this guy.
Yeah.
And obviously, or I mean, maybe not, maybe Roto has a heel turn again, but it seems moving from where we are that Roto is not going to be the major antagonist during this section. So, what is all this setup work with him about? Like, maybe this is, I don't know. This is off of nothing, and this is coming straight off the cuff. The idea once again that there's multiple sun gods and Emu has all this power of the sun and like controlling the mother flame. What if
Mhm.
Emu is the dark interpretation of the sun god that's destructive? And
Mhm.
Emu has their little world, their little live dolls is the world with the real people and not like a small little box with Lego pieces.
That's that is interesting.
I don't know. And maybe I'm just thinking about the big swing that I want to talk about later and I'm applying that here instead of actually what's in the
Right.
text here, but I don't know. This feels important somehow, and I just don't have any clue
Exactly.
what it could be. Um, so
But
that's my thoughts on
we're not
Legoland.
gonna find out soon, so let's
I mean,
I
who
mean, I
knows?
don't
You
know
don't know
what
what
else.
happens next week.
I guess you're right.
You don't know what happens next
Maybe we get a
week.
lot on Legoland
Maybe
next
we get a
week.
lot of, I mean, Roto is with the Straw Hats right now,
Yeah.
for what it's worth. Um,
But we now get to Elbaph proper.
to Elbaph proper, and I mean, I don't know what I was expecting from Elbaph, because like obviously Elbaph was going to be big because it's the land of the giants, but it feels so much grander in scale than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah. I think that this scene with Luffy like standing on the rope bridge gives is like a really great just like uh framing tool to show how huge this is.
Yeah, like especially when you have like Usopp, who is smaller than the wolves that are way in the background in the forest below the rope bridge.
Exactly.
Like how small we are compared to everything else here.
Hmm.
And then we have Luffy jumping down to go meet a certain someone, but we'll get to that in a second.
He can feel
He can
something.
feel something, and I know you have some notes on this with Luffy in this section.
Yeah.
But we have another message first, a message from Vivi, which you know what? I will say it for the podcast. I misunderstood this on my first reading because I'm stupid and dumb. And in my defense, don't you want to believe too that when Luffy turns into Gear 5, he has the fucking Alabasta mark on his arm? Come on.
I would love to
Imagine.
believe it.
Imagine how cool that
However,
would be.
I did have to
I was wrong.
inform Lad
I
here
was wrong 2 weeks ago, and this week I am not wrong anymore. Uh,
that this is very clearly an edited photo by Vivi and Morgans to tell
to tell
Luffy and the
Luffy
crew
something.
that Vivi needs them in some way or something. It is clearly a message that Luffy needs to get from Vivi.
Yeah. And that's why none of the Straw Hats that were in Alabasta, I mean, technically Nico Robin was in Alabasta, but not like that.
Yeah. She didn't have the X on her arm.
Yeah. I mean, she was on the boat during this section, I guess.
Yeah, but she was in the
She
cabin.
was
She
like
was I mean
hiding in the boat, but
yeah.
I don't know. I want it to happen
She
for
does
real
say that it
though.
looks familiar,
It
but
does look familiar, but I mean, she probably remembers at least seeing it, but Not enough detail.
She doesn't know what it means.
And it's interesting that like we still have not brought this up with Luffy and the crew.
Yeah. Like I feel like this should have been something Robin was like, "Hey, Luffy,
Hey Luffy, do
look at
you look like
this."
this normally? Do you look like this when you're
But I guess
free?
to be fair, Robin spent 2 years with Sabo and didn't tell Luffy, so
That is also true. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions about how fast Robin would tell the crew about important information, and maybe she just doesn't think this is important information. Um,
but we hear about Loki.
yeah, we start hearing the words about an accursed prince, the shame of Elbaph, or what is that what they say?
I think
Or
so.
yeah, the shame of Elbaph. That's what he says. And Loki, this shot of Loki's introduction is beautiful.
Is fucking peak,
It's
dude.
so astounding.
He's just massive
He's unbelievably huge. Luffy looks so
with
small.
all of the chains chaining him to to the world tree, the horns that might not be horns, the tattoos on his arms that look like wings,
And the blindfold that apparently
the
he can see
blindfold.
through. I don't
It's
know.
so
I am
interesting.
so fascinated with this character and what we're about to do with him.
Yeah.
And his interactions with Luffy here are really, really, really fascinating.
Mm.
God, in this
And
shot
then
of the tree.
to then trump that picture of Loki, we get a shot of Elbaph.
Yeah, Elbaph, the whole of Elbaph. Warland, the kingdom of
Hmm.
warriors. And he is the sun god who brings the world to an end. Loki.
What
What the fuck is this guy?
the hell is up with this
What
guy?
the hell is up with this guy? I just don't know, man. I mean, I like the idea that he has eaten another version of the Nika fruit.
Yeah, I guess we've could sort of talked about it a little bit. And I know I've seen this theory out there somewhere, but it's also something that I sort of came to on my own. That with the multiple interpretations of the sun god that we hear about later from the Harley and from just like Elbaph legend, if devil fruits truly are just the wills and wishes of mankind made manifest, how really that out there to say that there could be two sun god fruits, two or more sun god fruits, based off of the different interpretations of what Nika was?
Yeah.
And what if that is the legendary devil fruit that was passed down through the royal line of Elbaph? Is this warlike version of the Nika fruit?
Yeah. A more of a warrior of destruction than a warrior of liberation.
Right. Which would make a lot of sense as to why someone who maybe has some red hair and maybe someone who has some sort of arrow fruit might want to recruit him.
It's certainly possible.
I feel like if you're gonna recruit a sun god, you probably aren't gonna get Luffy. So,
Yeah, no, I think their odds of getting Luffy are unlikely. Um,
but I mean, it's pure speculation at this point,
yeah.
with a little bit of evidence. But I think it's a really interesting thought to have this character who we know is going to be unchained. And if you know anything about Norse mythology, when Loki is unchained is what starts Ragnarok.
Yeah. And Luffy is
Um,
currently trying to unchain the man.
is on his way to find the key, or I mean, he found the key, but
He's got to get the key
someone someone someone's keeping it from
from
him.
a certain someone. We'll get to him later.
Just super interesting what is being set up with Loki. I guess since we're talking about him now, I'll talk about a little bit more about my thoughts on Loki that I think I've convinced you of.
Yeah, most of I've been thinking about other things than Loki. A lot of my thoughts on Loki come from Misfits, so I'll let you. Go wild with it.
Because we also then a little bit later we get that chat that Loki has on the snail phone with someone named Shaggy,
Yeah, someone
I think
who
is the
at
name.
least he calls them Shaggy. Whether or not that's their
Yeah,
name
yeah,
is
yeah.
up in the air.
Which we've theorized about. I don't think it's Shanks because he apparently hates Shanks. I don't think it was Shamrock, uh, because he definitely doesn't like Shamrock. I don't think it's Kid either, but maybe it's Kid.
I think there is a
If it
world,
is,
especially with, I mean, Loki establishes the underworld as a place where like undesirables are thrown and like humans who end up here and then like they die basically get stuck here or like are near dead. And with Kid having been destroyed just offshore of Elbaph, I don't think it's unreasonable to theorize that he might show up in the underworld. I don't know what
uh,
he would
I
be
think
doing,
if it is
but
someone who if it is someone who we know already, I think it's probably Kid. But I don't know. For some reason, I just get the feeling that it's someone who just hasn't been introduced yet.
yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's Kid because like, why would they be talking on transponder snail?
Right.
And like,
Why would he be talking to Loki?
yeah, why would he be talking to Loki like old friends? And
Although
mhm.
we do know if we are trying to draw parallels between Luffy and Loki, maybe Loki is also one to give silly, stupid nicknames to people based off of what they look like.
Maybe. And maybe he doesn't look
And
so jaggy
and
anymore and looks a little
Luffy's
more shaggy
and,
now.
right. Maybe.
I don't know. I just think, and like if he mentions like the whole like, oh, if I was in your place, I would have just killed them all.
Yeah.
I
Which
feel
is
like
kind
that
of a kid
doesn't
thing to say.
maybe. Well, that's isn't that Loki talking to them?
Oh wait, is it?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to go to the page where he's
Let's
talking about
go
it.
find that page.
I don't know what chapter it's in. I'll let you look for
Sorry,
it.
sorry, chat. I'm doing research.
While he's doing research, hit the YouTube buttons. You should like subscribe and
Yeah,
like
let's say that early this
and
time.
early as if it's not almost 50 minutes into the video. Like the video and click the subscribe button and hit the bell. If you like it, you like it. If you're watching our Elbaph video, that's probably a sign that you like it because this is like
Yeah,
our I don't know, like 20th, maybe 15th. I haven't been keeping count.
something like that.
I mean, we've been doing these for a little while. You should go watch some of the other ones if you feel like it.
Yeah,
I think
they're good.
the Wano set is really good, especially the last two. If you want to hear me cry on camera,
Yeah.
um, oh, same thing with Egghead Part Two. I also cry on camera during that one. Leave a
Word.
comment about how much you hate me doing YouTube plugs, and I'll like it, and then I'll call you a silly Billy. How you
Yep.
doing over there? You found it yet?
No.
I'll keep plugging then. Um, uh, there's
Keep plugging. Keep
soon there's
plugging.
gonna be soon we're gonna be moving into stuff other than One Piece, and some of that's gonna be related to the streaming channel, which is probably in the description if I did my job right. So you could click that
He
and go follow
he does.
the
He's good at his job. He should do it right.
so you can go follow the live stream channel. That's me doing video games.
Where
Probably
the fuck is
that will
this
be
thing?
happening soon. I don't know, man. I can't go to the next chapter because then I have to reset the whole thing so that I can go back to
I
this
know. I
chapter.
know. I know. I know. I
Um,
know. I'm
um,
sorry. You know what? It's not that important. We can move on.
yeah, we'll come back to it when we get there. And when we get there, you can come back and press the like button when you remember to. How about
So
that?
true. Keep plugging.
So true.
Always be plugging. Always be plugging.
Always be plugging. Okay. Anyways, um,
We're here.
I don't
We're
know.
talking
We're
about Loki.
here. We're talking about Loki.
But in that conversation with whoever Shaggy is, um, Shaggy mentions that Loki's harsh words hide how kind he is, which I think is Oda telling us straight to the camera, "Hey, what people are saying about this guy
Is
is
not the whole
not
truth.
true." So I guess and also we get the thing with Gerd being like Loki's not the shame of Elbaf, it's Roto, which I think is like framing and setting up to for us to imagine that Loki might be a good guy, or at least
Yeah.
not a bad guy, or the
or
shame of Elbaph or whatever they
yeah,
think he
not
is.
as bad of a guy as everybody seems to be making him out to be. I have some ideas about it. I'll come back to those, I think, in 1139 at the end.
Okay. Um, but yeah, so I do really think that once Loki is unchained, that we're gonna get some sort of recontextualization of the fight that he had with
With
oh man,
Shanks
what's the
or
king's
with
with
the
no,
king.
what's the king's name?
Oh shit, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm
I don't know.
sorry.
We'll figure it out later.
But the his
Um,
father, the
yeah,
king, the former king of Elbaph, who he killed,
yeah. Allegedly.
allegedly.
Um,
He also talks some shit about Shanks, which Luffy does not appreciate.
yeah, that is true.
And then makes a deal with Luffy, although we miss a lot of the details.
Hmm.
We don't know exactly what Luffy promised Loki. Um, he basically, he promises to give Luffy information, but not for nothing. And then we cut back to, Luffy coming back up to the top
The
of the
rest of the
bridge and the rest of the crew and
yeah.
everything. Uh,
And we had a bit of a crisis the other day where we
yeah,
kind of realized that Luffy is acting a little weird in this
Luffy's
arc.
acting a little weird. I'll let you talk about it because you're the one that picked up on it.
Okay. So we have a lot of things in this arc that we have never seen Luffy do before, which is weird to a thousand and a hundred chapters into a story to change the main character so drastically, and to have him start doing things that he's never done before. You know, I feel like at this point Luffy's personality should be like set in stone pretty much, and yet in this arc we have Luffy for the first time, I think since like I can't remember a time that Luffy has tried to lie to someone.
Um, I don't know. He does
I
not do
mean,
it very often. The last time he tried to lie
since
was
like
when he came up with the nickname Lucy instead of Luffy.
yeah,
And
right.
almost
Like
nobody
he's
believed him.
right. Um, since like he was a child lying to Dadan, he hasn't lied in the story or something.
Not something that he
And we
does very
have
often.
exactly. And in this part, we have Luffy being not only lying to like, not exactly lying because he's really really bad at it and he cannot do it.
Yeah, but like
But he is trying to withhold information from his crew.
even from the crew, not even just the giants.
Right.
And Zoro
We
has to
then
like
also
force the information out of it.
we have him talking about people's backstories in this arc,
Both
where
with
he talks about
Robin and
he
Nami.
talks about Bellamere and Saul, which is something that he's never once put like thought into or even like considered.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it is nice to know that they do like talk about this stuff
Yeah, like the
on the
crew knows
boat,
about
even if we
Saul
don't
and
see it.
stuff. And
And
presumably has
Luffy
at
knows
some
about
point talked
Bellamere.
about Belmare because he was not there for that backstory in
He
Arlong
was
Park.
asleep when Nochiko was telling them about it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just really, really interesting how different Luffy is acting in these small little moments. It's not in your face at all. And I'm not bold enough to swing big and say that I think that Luffy is like under someone's control or he's maybe like an imposter or something. I don't think that's what's going on. I just think it's interesting that we have these out of character moments from Luffy, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, I think
In an arc where we have the literal trickster god influencing him,
yeah, and especially with him starting to act this way after we cut away from Loki's deal with Luffy.
whatever deal he made
We
with
like
Luffy.
we missed the information whatever happens after Loki says like I won't give you that information for free, and then Luffy starts acting weird after that. Uh it begs the question what all Loki told him or what he implied about Shanks maybe. Which I suppose we will find out eventually, maybe soon if Luffy's going to be taking that key down to Loki.
Mm-hmm. Um,
Um
we also have the best moment of this whole
The
section where
best moment of the whole
Brooke
arc where
just
Brooke says
says
skull joke.
Brooke just says skull joke. He doesn't make a skull joke. He just says skull joke.
No, he says my heart would have
It's
been racing if I had one. You
skull joke.
skull joke. I love him.
It's great.
And then
But we do have this
the
really
second
cute
best
moment
moment of the arc, where Robin gets a new haircut
to
to
look
look like
like she did when she was a little
she
girl.
was a kid, and back when we first met her, and it's just she looks so good. Oh,
She looks great.
she
I
looks
love it.
so good. I love Nico
I'm not gonna
Robin.
cry.
I'm not gonna cry. I love seeing her smile and have sparkles in her eyes and be happy and like it's just so
Yeah.
wonderful. She deserves it.
Also, something that I haven't mentioned yet, but I love is seeing Bonnie exist as her regular 12-year-old self.
Yeah, she's not like putting
Now
on
that
the
she
adult persona anymore.
Yeah, now that she doesn't have to like, act or hide anymore. She's been freed of this burden.
Yeah,
She found her daddy and now she can just be a kid.
I love it.
It's
I
it's
love
just
Bonnie.
every time I see little Bonnie,
It
it
makes me
makes me
happy.
feel things.
It makes me happy. And then we get some cool world building stuff in that I think is just
Yeah.
really great. Oda's doing a really good job with the world building in Elbaph. I think for me
Yeah.
it has been, I guess since Wano, because Wano was really good about this too. But I think a lot of post time skip arcs fail on the world building aspect for me at least. There's like Whole Cake and Wano I think are the only ones that really hit it home. Because
Yeah.
I think Fishman Island and Egghead have really interesting settings that they don't do much with. Punk Hazard
hmm
and Dressrosa are not all that interesting places necessarily.
Yeah, like
And then like
not like interesting geologically, I
I
think.
think this
And like
this to me is like since Zoe I think is maybe the best that he's done
yeah,
with like
yeah.
even thinking about how they get water and food with like Zunacia shooting the water up and they get the fish from that and everything. And this feels
Mhm.
similar to that to me, where they're like, oh yeah, we have these like rainbow bridges that we sail on to get up to these higher planes, and we've got three different planes of the world, and there's the underworld and the sun world and the astral world and like all these
Mhm.
different things. It just feels so like well thought out and intentional, and I really love when Oda does this
Yeah.
because like pre time skip he was amazing at it, and in post time skip he's been good at it. And here I think he's really hitting it out of the park again, of just like making
And I
these
don't and
places feel
I don't
real.
want to say that I think that Oda has like dropped the ball or like,
I'm not saying
you know,
that. I wouldn't
not
clarify
saying
it.
that he like got worse at writing. I just think it hasn't been a focus for him.
Yeah, I think
He's
that
been doing other shit that's been more important narratively.
the plot
But
shit
it's
has been more
really
important.
cool.
But it's really
It's
cool.
really cool when he does it, when
It's
he
cool
like
seeing him bring it back
fleshes
out of
out
his
the
bag again
islands. Yeah.
and knowing that he still has the ability when he has the time to do it to bring this like out of the bag, because it'd be so easy to
Right.
just gloss over details like this. And it's part of what I love so much about One Piece is the way that all of the little details feel so intricate and defined. And I love when he
Right.
just gets to spend a chapter showing us all those intricate details and the wonder and majesty of a place like Elbaph.
Right.
And it's really cool. And like especially more than anything, this chapter and the events of this chapter, I cannot wait to see animated because of the colors and the
hmm
music and everything. I think is going to be mind blowing. Like seeing
Yeah.
the boat go up over the rainbow and like the shot when Luffy and Usopp first see like this the whole
The
city.
actual like like the town
Yeah,
that is Elbaph,
and
and we get
like
this like
with the
whoever this
I'm crying.
guy is. You're not crying.
God damn it! I'm not gonna cry at Usopp and Luffy. I'm not gonna cry. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Whoever this Luis Arnott is, we get his like some like journal log from him about the unbelievable like grandeur and majesty of Elbaph that you can't like describe in words. And it's even hard to describe in a picture.
Yeah, and that's I think part of why it's so cool that Oda spends the time on this location.
Right. Exactly. Um, One thing I did want to mention from earlier on in this chapter, before we even get to like the painters painting the rainbow and stuff, we have this one panel of Shanks telling Ripley's son to remember the name Straw Hat Luffy. And I think it's really interesting that I feel like this is something that Shanks does a lot because we have him, he talks to Mihawk about Luffy. He talks to Whitebeard about Luffy. Maybe he talks to the elders about Luffy, but who knows?
Who knows? That
Maybe
could have
he
been.
is a
It
rat.
could have been Shamrock. It could have been Shamrock.
Um, we have a guy like Shanks seeming to be like planting the seeds for Luffy's like inevitable rise to whatever Luffy will end up being, rise to Pirate King in these people, in especially in like I think it's especially interesting that he tells uh again, I don't remember the kid's name, but
Colin.
Ripley's son,
Colin.
Colin, yeah. A young person to be like, hey, this Straw Hat Luffy guy, fucking pay attention when he speaks.
Yeah. Listen. Pay it.
Remember
You have
the fucking
to
name.
pay attention for his life-changing words. You know.
Right. When he says meet, pay attention.
Pay attention. Wake up. Wake up.
Lock in,
Lock
Colin.
in. I don't
But
know.
yeah, I just think it's really interesting that Shanks seems to be spreading the name of Luffy in an almost Bartolomeo-esque way.
Almost a Bartolomeo
In
way.
these,
To me, it feels almost more akin to Ace, but
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
not. I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
like the way that Ace would always be
I was
like, "Do
saying the
you see
Barto
this?
thing as a
This is
joke,
my
but
this
yeah,
is my brother. Do you see my brother? Look at the shit he's doing."
right.
God, why did Ace have to die? God damn it. Okay. But
But yeah, I just wanted to mention that I think it's interesting that Shanks seems to be doing that for Luffy, which is a bit of cope to be like, he's still a good guy. He's still a
he's
good
still a
guy.
good guy. Shanks
He's
isn't the
still on
bad
our
guy.
side.
Shanks is a good guy. Shanks is a good guy. Shanks is a good guy. Please, 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 please. Um, but I really do implore you, if there's nothing else you listen to from this discussion, I implore you to go back and read this chapter. And when you get to the section like with all the majesty of this place, I listen to the song that plays when they first get to the Grand Line.
Yeah.
And don't cry challenge. Anyways,
Don't cry, challenge
don't cry
impossible.
challenge impossible difficulty. Uh, moving forward,
Yeah.
we get to more
I mean, do we want
stuff
to
that
talk about do we want to talk about the Louise Arnott thing that he says? Because I
Oh, I
mean we talked
mean,
about it a little bit.
the thing where he says, "Don't overstay your welcome."
Yeah.
I mean,
Adventurers do not regret your lost time here. However, if there's one message you can take away from my account of the gigantic and mystical land of Elbaph, let it be this word of warning. Do not overstay your welcome here. From Louise Arnott Explorer.
what the hell does that mean?
What the fuck do you mean, Ichiro Oda?
What do you mean, Eiichiro Oda? I have seen the idea thrown around, and I think you have mentioned this to me at some point as well, that people are thinking about maybe it's that time moves slower in Elbaph,
Yeah, I
and
had I
so
had the idea
like
of like almost like I know that this isn't where it comes from, but it's the one thing that like I remember the like hotel scene from the Percy Jackson movie and the Percy Jackson books where they eat like the lotus fruit or whatever, and the time in there moves differently than it does outside, and you waste like years of your life and it feels like hours.
I don't
It's an
know. It's
idea,
an idea.
and
I
it
don't
would be
know if
it, it would be an
I'm
interesting way to do another time skip without
without
having our
separating the Straw Hats
characters
again.
change as much.
I don't know.
It's
I'm just not
interesting.
sold on
I
the
don't I
idea.
don't think it's gonna happen, but I do think it would be interesting, and I would be happy. I would be excited to see what Oda does with a concept like that.
I agree with that for sure. I just feel for me it's hard to imagine a world where directly after Vegapunk creates an even bigger wave of inspiration to chase after the One Piece, that the Straw Hats just like get stuck in Elbaph for a couple years and nobody does anything. Like I don't like is
Right.
Blackbeard really not that close? Like Shanks is not that close. Buggy's not that
Yeah, it
close.
feels like everything is ramping up to like a head quickly.
And I
And if we have a time skip, I mean, maybe we are gonna do. Maybe if it is, it's gonna be like hey, we were too late, and now we have to fix shit.
maybe, but I just feel like to me that feels like if we rob away Luffy trying to get to the One Piece, if we time skip and the One Piece has been obtained and we have to fix it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
I'm not in on that
I don't I
idea.
wouldn't I don't know about that. I'm not in on that. I'm selling on that idea.
Yeah.
But
Um, I don't know, but
it's interesting.
I think that it is a Chekhov's gun as we move through.
I mean, yeah, you have to keep this statement in mind because again, we just don't know what the fuck it means.
Yeah, especially when you have stuff like parties that last 3 days, and
Mm-hmm.
the mention at the beginning of the arc of that drink that causes you to hallucinate, which maybe was just there to set up the potential confusion with Legoland, but I feel like there's maybe more to it than that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like if it's going to come
I
up
remember I
anywhere,
saw I saw a video from like when that chapter came out, and people were like, it has to be the hallucination thing. Look, Nami here is drawn with a sword and then doesn't have a sword, and then she has a sword and doesn't. And Oda was just like, whoopsie.
oops, my bad. But I don't know. I think if it's going to come up anywhere, I don't know. There's a couple places because like we have multiple characters who have reason to want to be here for a while.
Yes.
We have Robin who has the entire library of Ohara here. We have Usopp who is like
And the rest of the owl
yeah, and the
library.
rest of the Owl Library. We have Usopp who's finally made it to the land of the giants and probably wants to spend as much time with his heroes as possible.
Uh-huh.
And then you have characters like Lilith who want to like
Well, Lilith wants to like
settle
stay
like
here
stay here for an extended period of time to do research and to work on Kuma
and
and
like to
Stella.
set up a lab here.
And I just wonder at which of these characters, if not all of them, is the Chekhov's gun going to fire.
Hmm. We also maybe have Luffy, who's
That's
gonna be
true.
getting trained by Scopper Gabon here.
Yeah. So many questions.
So many questions.
So many questions, so little time. And by so little
I
time, I mean
love I
so many
this is so
weeks.
minor, but I love I said this is so minor, but I love the Savar ship that uses like island clouds to like fly through the sky as a boat.
Oh, yeah.
Super sick. Really, really cool thing to just introduced.
Just such a cool environment.
Hmm.
Anyways, are we ready to move into the part where we don't cry challenge?
I guess I guess it's
I
time
guess it's
for
time to move
Don't
into
Cry Challenge
Robin's
2025.
backstory. Don't cry at Robin's backstory challenge. Difficulty impossible.
Oh no.
Um, as we get, I mean, this chapter just opens with, I believe, mostly, if not all, just scenes we've already seen of Robin's backstory
Yes.
played back again, and they got me again. Um,
Just the tragedy of Robin's youth and life until she met the Straw Hats.
yeah.
I don't think that we got this shot of Robin like standing at the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, well, don't we get more of that later? I want to save that for when that fully comes up.
I mean, it's within this little section here.
Yeah, but isn't there like yeah, let me find where's the shot of it specifically, like the longer shot. I guess maybe it's the next chapter. The new shot of Robin on the fucking cliff crying to talking to Saul and her mom on the edge of a cliff that everyone's scary and everyone hates her and then just like thinking about the stupid
The
laugh.
everyone telling her that she needs to live
Yeah,
while she
every
stands at the edge of a cliff
cliff and then she runs away
doing
laughing doing or trying to
doing the
laugh
fucking
the did
doing the
she
fucking
she
Saul laugh. Oh man.
because one day she'll find the people that care for her.
Yeah.
Fuck. Fuck. Okay.
Fuck.
Lock in.
We
Lock in.
failed the
Lock in.
challenge.
I failed the challenge again. Lock in. Okay. Okay. Lock in.
All right.
Lock in. I
Yeah.
simply
We're
will not cry about Nico running.
so everyone leaves the gathering on the mist ship to go to the library.
And just I'm just like Robin, I'm just gonna just jump into it.
That's just
Robin walking up to Saul who is playing dead on the beach, to recreate when they first met when she was a child. Ugh, dude. Oda. Come on, man.
Come on, man. Why are you doing this
How
to
can you do this to me?
Ugh.
And in him picking her up and looking at her and that saying she looks just like her mother. Ugh. I don't know. I'm like sorry that I'm not like saying anything.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
I'm
hard to
taking
put it
it
it's
in
hard to
it.
do words.
It's hard to
Yeah.
do words getting hit by it again. And like the just the little snippets of Saul, like him talking about how for the last like 20 odd years him seeing all the things in the papers and stuff that people were saying about her and how upset
Hmm.
it made her, but like upset it made him, but knowing that she was alive made him happy.
Right.
And just like Robin saying that she doesn't want to talk about the bad things but wants him to hear all the nice things about how she survived. And just
Yep.
I'm just gonna read it for word because I think I have to. Bless you for being alive, Robin. 22 whole years. Bless you for surviving. Bless you for coming to see me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. This shit means
Yeah,
something
man.
to me, bro.
Dude.
One
Holy
Piece,
shit.
One Piece fucking means something to me. And just, and then all of the Straw Hats crying while Rob, or not Robin, while Luffy and Jinbei look on at the two of them with a big smile.
Mhm.
It's just fucking beautiful.
I mean, yeah.
It's just fucking
This is how you
beautiful.
do a fucking fake out death, Oda.
Yeah. This is what a fake out death looks like, Oda. Not fucking Pell.
Not fucking Pell. Oh man. I don't have words to talk about this. I
Yeah,
don't know what to say.
I don't have any
Just
critical
like
analysis.
go
It's just fucking
guys,
beautiful.
go read it.
Go read it. I will be standing right alongside the rest of you when this shit gets animated, bawling my fucking eyes out.
Bawling my fucking eyes out. I'm not gonna be
I
okay.
can already picture the music and the voice acting, and I'm not okay even thinking about it. Um, on a lighter note, we have Luffy's, I don't know, thanks to Saul, I guess?
This, I mean, again, this is a moment of Luffy acting weird,
It's very strange.
but it's
But
also
somehow it's
just like
also,
this is also like regular Luffy being weird.
yeah, this is like regular Luffy being weird. I know, because when we were first talking about the Luffy being weird thing, you had mentioned this scene, and I pointed out this is the first time Luffy has met somebody from one of his friends' backstory that is alive.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like Kawina's dead. You know, Sanji's family
Hero
sucked.
Hero looks dead.
Hira looks dead. I guess we haven't seen Yasop. We like, you know, Usopp's mother is dead. Bellemere is dead. We thought Saul was dead. Tom is probably dead. All of everybody that Brooke knows is dead except for Laboon.
Yeah, except for Laboon.
And Fisher Tiger is dead, but this guy's alive. So
Right.
it's like Luffy's
But we
first
get
time getting to
Luffy says, "Old man Saul, a long time ago, you did a great favor to one of our youngins.
thank
Thank
you
you
kindly.
kindly. Begging your pardon."
One of our youngins. Like Luffy is not
What a
19.
fucking stupid
He
idiot.
is so stupid. I love him. Ugh.
Love him so much.
Never change Monkey D. Luffy.
Oh my god.
Ugh. And
Uh,
Saul responding to this with laughter, and so you found him after all, huh, Robin? God damn it. I failed the challenge
God
again.
damn it, I'm feeling a
I
challenge
failed the
again.
challenge again. Just as you said, I found them,
We
Saul.
also had a thought um
Ugh.
that Saul seems to have a burn scar.
He does have a burn scar. You gotta pay attention to everybody with a scar now. Because
Um,
anybody could be the one that has the burn
the
scar.
guy with the burn scar. Uh, it's interesting. It's maybe he's the guy with the burn scar. Just wanted to mention that we pointed that out.
Yeah. I don't have any thoughts about who the the burn scar
You
person
know,
is.
it's also maybe it's Scopper as well because
It
he
could
also
also
has
be
a scar that could
Scopper.
be a bird scar. Who knows?
Who
Until we
freaking
find out, we're not going
knows?
to know.
Yeah. I don't. To me, it feels like there will be a moment where we will meet a character and we'll be like, oh,
Right?
like they're gonna have like a
I don't.
crazy fucking burn scar. We're gonna be like, oh,
Mhm.
this guy.
I really like this moment of Lilith floating up to Saul, being like, "Hey, do you remember me?
Remember me? It's
Hey,
Vegapunk, and he's like, sure.
uh, hey, Vegapunk, I support whatever identity you identify
Yeah.
with." But then we get the reveal that there's like a fucking like Stella test tube baby
Yeah, Stella test tube
Lilith.
baby clone that Lilith has.
Uh, so like, cool. I don't know what to say about that.
I don't know what to say about it. I mean, like, I don't know how Vegapunk. It feels to me like maybe Vegapunk the Stella will be back in like the epilogue
Yeah,
of the
something
story.
like
Because I
that.
feel like there's no way there's enough time for Lilith to build up a whole facility and then bring him out of the pod for him to then be relevant for the story again. And maybe I'm
Right.
underestimating how quickly one of the satellites can make a whole ass lab.
Yeah. I guess we didn't talk at all about the like how is we don't really know how Punk Records is functioning right now because it
Yeah.
seems like they like the rest of the guys who are still like the Frankenstein, the Megazord, Vegapunk is it seems like they are all obviously connected within the Punk Records, but I don't think that Lilith or York are still connected. Maybe
York,
question
I
mark.
think, is definitely not connected. They've probably just cut her access. But Lilith seems to know that the others are alive, which to me makes me think she's connected to Punk Records still. But maybe
There might
not. And then
might
like
just be
also
knowledge
how
we
is
would have.
how is Punk Records still around if Vegapunk is dead? Because he's supposed to be the one with the fruit?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I don't know. Science bullshit from Vegapunk that I don't have an
Yeah,
answer to. If he can make a clone of himself, then surely he has some other techniques going on.
yeah.
If
I
he
mean, fuck,
can
maybe the Vegapunk we saw the whole time
a clone too,
was a clone and or like a green blood fucking seraphim.
maybe. I mean, if he found a way to cut his brain out of his head and still function, I'm sure he can figure this part out. This part seems less complicated than that to me.
And I guess the part where Vegapunk gets shot hasn't been colorized yet, so we don't know if his blood is green.
We don't know.
Just saying.
I suppose it could be. I'm not really expecting that to be the case, but
He could be green, just like
it
Usopp.
it could be green just like Usopp. So true.
Uh, I hope the viewers know what we're
I
referencing when
hope
we say that,
viewer, if you
because
don't know
I'm
what
not
ref
gonna explain it.
viewer, I hope you know about Green Usopp. If not, educate yourself. You gotta get in communion with what's going on with the story right now. This will be
Uh,
vitally important for the end of Elbaph. So like, do your studying.
exactly, obviously. But
And then we
moving
get
moving a
to
little bit
to the
along.
kids. I don't have a lot to say about the kids. Um,
I mean, I think I have a little bit to say
I
about
mean,
the
go off
kids.
then.
Just like I think it's I think it's interesting that we have an almost like very similar to what we had with Kaido in Wano being this deterrent for why people can't like come to fight against this massive power, why the world government has to respect it. It's interesting that now the next generation of giant children is not are not warriors,
Yeah,
you know,
choosing
they're
not to be warlords.
and I think that that's obviously it's a good thing that we're not warmongering and spreading violence, I think, but it's also like in a world like this, you do need strength to be able to protect
Yeah,
yourself and
protect
protect
yourself
your
from the
country,
world government or from other
right?
countries.
And I mean, we're already seeing at the end of this section that Elbaf has been invaded,
Yeah, like,
you know?
and who knows if people like Shamrock and Gunko would have been able to just casually show up here if they had a
Right.
whole host of warriors and Loki wasn't locked up.
Exactly. So it's a double-edged sword of, having a society that grows and doesn't, destroy itself, but also you're weakening your country.
I don't
And
know.
it's I think that's an interesting idea to look at, like, politically. But that I'm also not going to get into politically right now
Yeah,
because I want to wait till the end of Elbaph to see where it goes.
we don't have enough to get into apolitical One Piece corner just yet. We'll
But
save
it's
that for the
I mean
mural
it's
probably.
yeah, probably. But yeah, I guess that's all I had about the kids not being warriors, other than Colin, I guess. Or no.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
Colin's a
Colin.
warrior
Yeah, Colin's the only one.
that's trying to be a warrior.
Um, I mean, it's really impressive that Oda can draw all of this with one hand, is all I'm saying.
So true. He's been doing a lot of drawing with one hand this arc, that's for sure.
Ripley is hot as hell.
Ripley, Nami, Gunko doesn't have any pants for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, neither does Ripley. Ripley wears like a skirt.
I mean, that's better than just no pants at all.
Yeah, just underwear.
Just underwear. While she's also wearing like a heavy jacket and a cloak.
I don't know. I think
She
it's a cool look. I
she
don't
would
I
look
don't
cool
mind
with
that as much as
pants.
I did in like Egghead. I think the weird, like, giant cloak thing with the no pants is actually a kind of cool look.
I don't know. I think she would look cooler with pants on, but we'll get to Gunko in a minute.
Look, if she wanted to put pants on, she could.
How do you know that? You don't know what the Holy Night dress code is.
I mean, I think that she could. I mean, she made boots
I think that
out of
Shamrock
her
should have no
arrow
pants
fruit.
too, is really what I'm getting at.
It's so
I think that
true,
it
dude.
should be all of them or none of them. None of this Frankie gets to wear pants bullshit, okay?
But yeah,
Also, the Owl
Ripley's.
Library is a really interesting location
It is.
that I
Like,
don't have
I
a
mean,
lot to say about it. It's just like a very weird place.
it's giving like a little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender secret spirit library with the giant owl and the, like, trees growing inside of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
And this owl
like,
has the
built like,
ability to make the books huge?
yeah, it's like a book fruit or something
Something
like
like
that, right?
that. I don't remember.
Or grow fruit.
I think it's the
It's a
grow
fruit. It's a
fruit.
fruit power.
And then here we
Um.
have the Loki conversation with Shaggy.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, they've been long friends. Still traumatized by that experience you were telling me about. If I were there in your place, I'd have razed to the ground and killed them all instead. I just don't know what's going on here.
I just got no idea.
I got no clue. I don't know who Shaggy is. I wonder if it's a person we've met or not.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
But something else happens at the end of this chapter.
Something else happens at the end of this chapter. Two mysterious cloaked figures, one Shanks, one not Shanks, um, appear in the throne room,
Yeah.
which now that I'm looking at this
Yeah.
again is definitely the throne room.
Yeah, dog.
I mean, I
I told you
presumed I was. Yeah, I know. I just hadn't gone back and looked at it. All right,
that.
excuse me.
um, I saw a very interesting clip about this summoning circle here.
Go on.
So I don't I would love to give credit to whoever I saw this from, but I don't remember it because I was scrolling TikTok when I saw it. But they're a bigger creator than us anyway, so they don't need our shout out. But anyway,
You don't know our 10 subscribers.
11,
So
11.
11. So true. I forgot.
Uh,
Anyways, go on.
the thought was, this summoning circle seems to function somewhat differently than the ones that we saw the elders use, because it seems to have stuck around other than just for the summoning ritual, which is not what we saw back in Egghead when the rest of the elders were summoned.
Right.
Uh, so the idea slash theory that this person had come up with or whatever was that in line with the Loki being a good guy, not being the one who actually killed his father theory. What if it was Garling who came here to try and uh, you know take down Elbaph, whatever, maybe steal the fruit that Loki now has. Because we also see later on in the throne room, there's a lot of like scratch marks on the walls, which doesn't really make sense for people who fight with swords and spears and axes. It does, however, make sense for someone who fights with a Cerberus sword.
Yeah, or maybe turns into a demon if he's like the other elders.
Right. Um, so the idea that maybe Garling had left this, or I mean, maybe Garling, maybe just other Holy Knights had left this summoning circle here this whole time because no one had gone into the castle. The only people who survived that fight are the old elder man who has a sword through his head and seems to have memory loss, and Loki, who immediately left the island after that fight and was brought back in chains by Shanks.
Yeah. I have
Uh,
seen a similar idea about this circle that posits the idea, and I don't know, it's not too different from what you were talking about, that maybe that the impetus for the fight between Loki and his father was like incurred by the world government. Like their influence, they did something that caused maybe Loki to act or the king to act.
that's interesting.
And that's why this is here is like the remnants of the world government or the elders influence in
Hmm.
Elbaph is still here and still usable, and that
Yeah.
maybe they had done something. It could have been like Garling attacking or something that then
I
incited
mean, like, why,
Loki
like, at this point, why
versus.
not just make it Garling for the theory, or for
Yeah,
Oda to be like, yeah, it was Garling.
yeah.
Like,
Unless
I
there's, I
would like
mean,
to get the rest of the Holy Knights,
who
like,
knows? I mean, there is
fleshed out.
supposedly another Holy Knight who's on the way. Could have been
This is
them.
true.
We don't know anything about that still.
Uh, but
Also,
I think it's interesting that maybe like Loki had to eat the fruit to keep it out of their hands or something like that.
maybe that's an idea. I think there is
Uh,
interesting things to say about the fact that this circle is still in the throne room.
it is persistent,
And
seemingly.
it's not like, I mean, it's possible that it could have appeared when these guys showed up, but then why is it still there when Luffy and Scopper get there?
Right.
Is a different
Exactly.
question. Um
Um,
just gonna I'm gonna move forward a little bit.
what?
Unless you have something you
Chapter?
wanna mention.
No, no, no. I don't have.
I wanna move to I wanna do outfit talk now.
Ooh, drip talk, drip
Now I
talk.
wanna do drip talk because I'm at the panel where the rest of the crew gets the drip that are not
Hell yeah.
the other four that are not
Hmm.
in Roto's Legoland. I really love the Elbap outfits up across the board.
Man, they're good, aren't
I
they?
think they're really fucking good. I think there's a couple that I'm not the biggest fan of, but even then, they're still good.
Mhm.
Like I think that Zoro's goggles are a little silly looking on
I don't
him.
know. It just reminds me of Skypiea Zoro goggles, which makes me happy.
That's fair. I think that Brook looks a little goofy, but I
Kind of always
mean,
does though.
he kind of always does. But he doesn't look like normal Brook goofy, which I guess is maybe why I'm a little off put by it. But he's got a goofy spin on it. But then so many of the outfits are just like turbo bangers.
Yeah.
Jinbei, oh my god,
Jinbei looks fucking
Jinbei's
great.
design is
Robin looks
so
great
killer.
with like
Robin
the
with the half
half skirt
skirt
thing.
and the boots is killer. Frankie looks
And the
amazing with
like,
like the barrel arms
yeah.
and the horns and stuff. I think Nami looks great. Usopp with like the big fake beard is awesome.
It's
I
great.
really dig that look on him. Luffy looks really cool. I think the drip is really great in this arc for the Straw
Hmm.
Hats, especially Jinbei. I just think Jinbei is like killing it.
Especially Jinbei. Jinbei looks great in
Jinbei,
this
his like
like barbarian
yeah,
armor.
like barbarian, like the giant like snake belt thing that he's got on, and he's got like the
Hmm.
slightly like braided hair.
Yeah.
It just looks so good. It
I
feels
also
like
love that
a design that
Oda keeps
uses the
just
fact that
giving
he's got a skirt
characters
well.
like axes and swords on their backs in this
Yeah,
arc,
I like that.
even if he doesn't draw them at all times.
Like Sanji just inexplicably has a sword on his back that he's not going to use, and I like it.
No.
Luffy has a giant axe. I like that Brook has his cane on his back, and he's also got a shield.
Yeah.
I want to see Sword and Board Brook fighting somebody. That sounds great. But the outfits are killer this arc.
Hmm.
Some of the best Oda has ever done, I think.
Agreed.
And then we have so my assumption is that Gunko, when she is attacking these giants, is that she is using her devil fruit power in a similar way to when we first saw Robin's, and we're just not being shown what it looks like.
Yeah, it's also same thing that happened with Buggy. When he first used his power, he just like lifts a guy up when you don't see
Yeah, you don't see the
the
hand
hand
or the
doing
arm
anything.
or whatever.
Yeah.
My assumption is that's what's going on here is that the it's being obscured for our vision and not that she's using some other like psychic power that hurts
Yeah.
him. I assume.
Hmm.
Um, and then we get into another party. This arc is full of parties.
It's interesting to talk
It
about
is
with the
interesting.
whole time dilation sort
Time
of idea.
dilation, time so don't overstay your welcome kind of idea. This is like our fourth party in this arc already.
Uh, Fucking my boy, what's his name? Stanson? My boy Stanson is back.
Who?
The giant from the
Oh yeah,
slave
the stance of the
auction.
giant from the slave auction.
I
Yeah,
just love that
he's
Oda's like,
back.
yeah, all the giants that we've met, they can come back
They
this
can
arc. Why
all be
not?
here this arc. I love this recurring bit of Luffy pointing out that the sword is going all the way through this guy's head and
Yeah.
that the helmet doesn't do anything. Like it's funny to me that it's Luffy
Helmet
that's
did not.
pointing it out.
Yeah, it wouldn't normally be Luffy.
Yet normally
Huh?
Luffy is not the straight man to a joke,
Hmm.
and I think it's fun.
Just saying. Just saying. Luffy's doing weird
Luffy's
things.
doing weird things. He's also eating
Um,
food and being a glutton, which is great.
this is true.
I
That's normal.
love
Yeah, I love the
I
bit
just
of
love
him
this whole
being like,
party
this
section.
the helmet saved my life with
It
the
didn't do
sword
anything
clearly through
through
his
his
whole
head.
ass head.
I love the this quick little bit of Usopp telling crazy stories to the giants, and they're all like, "Yeah!"
Yeah,
Like
it's great.
fully buying Usopp's tall tales is always fun, especially with the beard. The beard really makes it all
Really sells
come
it.
together. That he really looks like Captain
Usopp
Usopp.
looks great with a beard.
Usopp looks really good with the goofy mustache and the beard. I dig it.
He looks great in Wano when he was in disguise.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
Usopp
one of
needs
the
to grow a
movies
beard.
has a design where he has a fake beard too, and it's really cool looking.
Hell yeah. Oh, I
Um,
guess we should talk about we're maybe going to be doing movie reactions at some
we
point.
might do movie
Look out for
reactions.
that.
I don't know if they're going to be videos, but we're probably might do them. It might happen. Watch out
Maybe
for
we'll
that.
talk about the movies at
You
some
should
point.
hit the subscribe button so that if that ever happens, you'll see it.
You'll know about it, and you should hit the bell
The
icon
bell
after
icon
you
so
hit the
you'll be
subscribe button, so you'll
notified
know
when those go up,
as soon as we talk about the movies.
assuming we talk about them. Nice plug,
Yeah,
nice
if we
plug,
ever
nice
do.
plug.
Plug, plug, plug.
Plug time, plug time. And then I just this is just a moment like a stream of great bits. I think this is maybe my new favorite recurring bit that Oda has been doing for a while, which is somebody talking to Luffy, fully describing what the sun god is to him and saying he looks just like
Yeah.
them, and then Luffy's like, "That sure is funny that I look just like that guy."
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
I just
Be like, ah,
like
weird.
Luffy is stuffing his face and he's like, "Oh, I get it. He's got clouds around him and white hair and clothes and laughs and he makes the world rubber. That's funny. That must be why everybody thinks I look like him." That doesn't have anything to do with me though. He is just so stupid. And I truly love him.
Yeah.
Um
Uh,
and then we get
Obviously
the
Sanji
some
being
Loki talk.
Sanji,
I also think
but I can't blame Sanji this time.
I also want to
All these
mention,
giant women are
yeah,
bad as hell.
he's just like Scopper. Um,
Exactly.
I want to mention when they're talking about the accursed prince Loki. To
Hmm.
me, these little scenes remind me of Odin's introduction
Oh,
in the
that's
way
very
that
interesting.
Odin was
I never caught
introduced
that.
with like when it's the whatever one of the like I don't know one of the attendants to Odin's father is like giving all these details like when he was 6 he was going to the brothels and when he was 8 he had a whole yakuza clan kind of thing. That's what
Yeah,
this feels like to me is this introducing this larger than life character, but we are not looking back on this larger than life character and like these sort of introduction being like the introduction to his grand story that we're getting told. It
right.
feels
He's
like
not a
we're we're
legend.
we're
He's
in
like,
we're in the middle of it when like Odin was still like
mhm.
disgraced or evil in the
Yeah, when he
eyes of
had
the
like just been
people.
banished.
Yeah, that's what this feels like to me. Is like it almost feels like we're in media res with an Odin-esque character. Not saying that
Yeah.
Loki is going to be like Kozuki Odin, I don't think any man could be. But other than Yamato, of course, because he is Kozuki Odin. Not to
Yeah.
don't get it twisted. I'm not doubting my
Don't
goat, okay? All
don't
right?
get it twisted.
But I think it's interesting that he is introduced in a similar way. At least to me it feels
Mhm.
very similar. Cuz like there's even like the whole like when he was a kid, he was already taming the beasts of the underworld and his pranks threatened our lives. It's all very Odin-esque to me.
That's another very interesting similarity between him and Luffy, is that
Yeah.
they both have seem to have the ability to like befriend animals.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um and
but
then
then Luffy asks, "Oh, Loki? Is Loki a good guy?"
guy and they're all
And
like,
all
"No."
the giants are like,
Oh,
"No!
he's like,
What you
"Oh.
what? No, of course not."
Oh, I knew that. Anyways, you guys said Shanks was here recently,
Hmm.
and then Zoro pulls him over and he's like, "You were acting weird." So he knows where Shanks is. I just like even Zoro notices that Luffy's acting weird.
Right.
I just there's got to be something to it.
There's got to be something to it.
There's got to be something more to it. I guess we'll find out soon, probably. Uh,
Soon, probably,
since since they're off to go find Loki.
maybe. Hmm.
And then we get to
But we
Gunko
get,
and Shamrock with Loki, which is also a real fun section.
yeah, very fun.
I love
Of
the way that he just like does
Loki
not.
just being like, "Fuck you
Yeah,
guys.
fuck you guys, get out of here. And then every
You
time
guys,
they
you
try
guys
to,
suck. I hate you.
and then every
Leave."
time they
You look
try to
like
threaten
Shanks, by
him,
the way, and I hate that
and I hate
guy.
that guy, and that makes me hate you. And then like anytime they start to threaten him, he's like, "Oh no, you know what? Fuck you even harder."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he says, "You're offering me a deal. Your fate is sealed, my friend. Die and be at peace." It's just so
It's really
he's
good.
so interesting. He really is like a
Um,
violent Luffy. I don't know.
he is.
I'm very very fascinated by one Loki.
I want to talk a little bit about Gunko because for some reason, I know that it's probably just heterochromia because her eyes are different colors. It feels like maybe something else though for me. For some reason, I'm getting like weird, maybe like homunculus vibes from this introduction here, where her arms are like not all the way in the sleeves. She's this weird arrow lady. Her face is covered up. She's got like Koala's hat on.
It's certainly possible. I don't know. She is very strange. I don't know that I buy
She's
on
just weird.
immediately a
I don't.
homunculus idea, but I mean, Oda has Oda ever done a character with heterochromia before? I don't think so. It's not like a design
Not.
element he leans into often like some authors do.
Yeah, not that I can
So you would
remember.
think that it would maybe be an indication that there's something different about this character, but then you'd think that if we were trying to imply something different about anybody, it would be Shamrock and not like
But it's
Gunko.
also it's also not like just like she has the whole like
Yeah, the
like
dark like
darkness
flame
around the people.
energy that the
Yeah.
elders have. but she has a named devil fruit still.
Exactly. I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
I don't
She's
know.
very
I
weird.
just I just think that there's something more than Gunko just being
Evil
a
and
holy
weird.
knight. I think right. But she kills the doggy, and I don't fuck with that.
She
So
kills the doggy that
fuck
Luffy
this
was friends
bitch.
with, so die. And then we get
Yeah, we
the
get.
the crew jumping into the castle,
Mhm.
which is just a lot of fun, I think, character work with Oda here.
Yeah,
It's nice to see. I don't know when the last time we've just had Luffy, Zoro, Nami as a group is.
yeah. It is nice to just have them like
It's
hanging
fun to
out,
have like just the
going
original trio going on a
on
little
a little
adventure.
exploration.
And it's really like the place is destroyed.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it
Um.
is just them fighting each other, but I don't know. It
I'm.
seems like pretty
So I was gonna.
grand destruction.
I didn't bring it up earlier because I thought, maybe it wasn't the most impactful thing. But now I'm looking at all these like different swords that are kind of stuck into the ground,
Yeah.
and they have a pretty distinct sort of like look about them that is very different from the sword that we see uh King Harold holding in the picture.
Mm-hmm. They
And
look
that is
more
the same
ornate.
at least the same style of sword that is through the guy's head.
Could very well be King Harold's sword that Loki's shoved through his head, or somebody else, maybe.
I just think that King Harold looks evil as hell, dude.
I mean, he does look kind of evil, but I don't know that he's evil. But maybe
I
he
don't know,
is.
man.
Maybe I don't know. But if there's some influence with
I
the
think he's
magic
evil.
circles,
You know what? No.
swing, swing, swing. Take the swing.
I'm swinging. King Harold was evil. Loki was a good guy or is a good guy and was trying to stop his father from like uh joining the world government or like succumbing to their pressure on him. And Loki stopped his father and the Holy Knights. Swing. Big swing.
Big swing. Let's go. I love to see it. I love to
That
see it.
motherfucker is evil. Look at him. He's evil as
I
hell.
mean, he does have a like a Waluigi mustache. It's
Exactly.
certainly not the best look about being good. But then he like, I don't know, he ripped his horns out to not like have the war like past on his body, the ancient giant blood,
Publicity stunt.
which also begs the question of whether or not Loki has the horns or they're
Oh yeah,
fake.
that is an interesting thought
I think
that we heard about.
there is the idea that the horns on his helmet are his father's horns that he has affixed to his helmet. There's also the idea that it could just be his own horns, or maybe they're just fake
Yeah.
horns entirely to try and
Mhm.
make himself look more like an ancient giant. Unclear. Um.
But
Anyways, now that we're
anyways,
past Harold is evil, we
we
move
get a little bit
into
about um Harudin's backstory,
yeah, a little bit of Hiruden.
which I guess they probably talked about a little bit earlier as well, with the reason that Harudin is the son of King Harold, but he cannot sit on the throne is because he comes from a different line of giants.
Yeah, it's giant racism.
Right. Like I guess non-Elbaph giants are sort of seen as lesser than in Elbaph,
Yeah.
which to me seems to be setting up that Harudin will be the one to like at the end of this arc, be king of Elbaph, and then we have Loki join the Straw Hat crew, obviously.
Yeah, he's the 10th crewmate. It's not Vivi actually. And it's not Yamato. It's
And he can
Loki.
definitely fit on the Sunny.
Yeah, he just walk next to the Sunny.
Right. He's like a Zunisha, just like walk
Yeah.
along in the water.
Well, he's wait, no, but he's got a devil fruit. Shit.
Uh,
Shit.
Vegapunk,
We'll
Lilac.
make the Sunny bigger.
Exactly.
We'll make
Look,
the Sunny
we're gonna
bigger.
cut. No, big swing, big swing. We're gonna cut down Elbaph, and make a really big boat.
Okay, I thought I was taking big swings this episode upcoming, but I guess not.
Oh no, that's not a real big swing. That's not a real big swing.
Okay, I am excited to give you your gold star when they cut down the tree at the start of Elbaph and use it to make the Super Sunny.
To remake the Pluton.
Yeah, to remake the Pluton, they turned the Sunny into the Pluton for sure. Um,
Um, yeah, we get Loki getting fucked up by the
yeah,
elders. I mean,
Loki gets
not by the elders, by the Holy Knights.
yeah, Loki gets fucked up by the Holy
I mean,
Knights.
he is chained down
He is
and a devil fruit user.
chained down in a Devil Fruit user, but they're kicking the shit out of him while he can't fight back.
Yeah. And it's interesting that we do see this sort of like arrow power that we saw earlier in the art or earlier in the
Yeah,
story.
similar to presumably whatever Emu did to kill Cobra.
Yeah.
Assuming that that was Emu and not
Yeah,
Gunko
assuming that
there,
Kunko wasn't just like chilling off to the
chilling off
side.
to the side there, and presuming that it was Emu's power, since we know that it's
Mhm.
not any of the Elders' powers.
But we also do know that Kunko has that sort of like black flame aesthetic.
Flames, so like maybe it's being bestowed under her, but they say that it's a named fruit power?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just begs
Or
even more questions about.
is there a difference between like the fruits that Emu can bestow onto someone versus the demons, quote unquote? Or is there even a
Yeah.
distinction? Or are we just being gaslit by Oda?
Just an infinite number of questions about what Emu's powers truly are and how they work,
Right.
and whether or not this is even the same thing that Emu was maybe doing to Cobra.
Right. Yeah.
Because, like, it does have this weird power where she's almost like creating like the faded line of attack and then does it, and it's more powerful
Mhm.
or something, and that's not really what happened to Cobra. But then also she's like stabbing the arrows into people sometimes, and that's
Yeah.
similar to what happened to Cobra. I don't know. It's very confusing.
I don't.
But we also get the introduction of Shamrock. For
Yup.
real, for real.
Commander of the Holy Knights, World Noble, Figureland Shamrock.
Shamrock. And he looks just like fucking Shanks.
Yeah.
Because they're twin fucking brothers. Which begs the question, how did Shanks get on God Valley chest for the Roger Pirates to find him? What the fuck was
I mean,
Figureland Garlic
Garland was
doing?
there,
I
and
guess,
he was just
yeah.
like, "Hey,
Hey son,
but
go
they're
play around in
twins."
God Valley. And then he is lost and he gets adopted by Gold Roger and
Yeah,
Silver's
I
Rayleigh
guess.
and Scopper Gabon.
I guess.
I don't know. It's just like what the hell? And it's
And
so
then
crazy of a reveal.
Buggy is the blue-headed stepchild.
Yeah, with the big red nose. I want Buggy to meet Shamrock
Dude,
so badly.
that would be an amazing final fight for Buggy in
Did
the final war.
Buggy and Shanks tag teaming Shamrock, or just maybe
No,
even
no, no, no,
Shanks
no.
is dead by this point.
Just Buggy killing Shamrock.
Yeah, Buggy low dipping him with a super muggy ball. I mean, what's his
I mean,
stupid
what's
Cerberus gonna do to a Chop Chop man? We've
true?
seen it. We've seen that Mihawk apparently can't stop the Chop Chop man, and that's supposed to be a black sword, supposedly infused with hockey. Yeah, right.
Fraud Hawk.
Fraud Hawk, Fraud Hawk. This is why Buggy's the
Mihawk's
goat.
the
Buggy's the
painter.
goat. Buggy's the goat. Buggy the
We're chaotic
Cloud.
this
We are very
episode.
chaotic this episode. It's a chaotic section. I mean, we haven't gotten to the mural yet, so although it is next chapter.
Mhm.
I don't know. Shamrock is really strange
Yeah.
and
What
raises
an
a lot of
interesting
questions.
idea to bring into the story at this point.
At this point, is this alternative to Shanks that is loyal to the world government
Mhm.
and a celestial dragon and all this other stuff? And like, why? why do we need a character that looks identical to Shanks? Like, what is the end goal of that?
Right.
What is it supposed to say about Shanks eventually?
Hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know. But we do have this final words from Shamrock saying, "The vicious warriors of Elbaph who conquered the New World long ago will be brought under the command of the world government once and for all." So that is their goal here, is to take over Elbaph.
Yeah, is to make the war giants subservient to the world government.
Which isn't good, I think.
Yeah, probably not good.
But
Hopefully Monkey D.
I'm gonna
Luffy
go
can
out on
stop
a
it.
limb and say I'm gonna go out on a limb and say not good. Big swing.
I also like that even after Gunko beats the shit out of Loki, Loki is still talking shit.
Yeah,
He does
I love
not
it.
stop. Like even after that, and you know, Shamrock does his whole spiel. He's like, "Oh, really? You're Shanks's brother? Now I hate you guys even more." And then he gets attacked by just Cerberus,
Yep,
another like
just Cerberus.
demon that's in Shamrock's sword, which begs the question of whether or not Shanks' sword has maybe eaten a devil fruit.
I think it'd be cool.
It's certainly an idea.
That's all I'll say.
Um, but as all of you that have read this section know, learning that Shamrock is Shanks' twin brother and has a Cerberus sword is not the most important part of 1138.
Yeah.
Um, do you just want to move straight into it, or do we want to talk about anything else that happens in 1138?
I mean, we see that Gunko and Shamrock are like, yeah, we're gonna bring someone else. Um, Luffy defends Shanks' honor against the Giants, who are like, Shanks fucks us up or something.
Yeah,
It was
Shanks
definitely
was it was definitely Shanks. We would know him because we've seen him before. And Luffy's like, "How dare
yeah.
you?"
Hmm. But no, we get Ripley and Frankie climbing Adam,
Climbing the Atom Tree, and they
talking
find
about their children's drawings from the ancient past, carved into the fossilized tree bark. It's been about somewhere between 800 and 900 years ago. You know, obviously during the Void Century, and we get a tease of Frankie looking up at this mural uh, with like a few of the people.
a
You know,
few of the
you have the
little tiny
mermaid
pieces of
princess
the
and
drawing. And then we cut
you
to
know.
Robin, who's talking with Saul, and he's showing her the Harley, which is split up into three parts and has so many different interpretations.
Mhm.
And then we get the whole thing.
The
The
whole
the
ass
moment
thing.
you've all been
The
waiting
moment
for. 2 hours
that
in, we're here.
shook this community to
Shook
its
the
fucking
world.
core.
This is the chapter that I, after reading for half a year, caught up on. Was this
Yeah,
fucking moment.
was this chapter.
The most unbelievable time, maybe ever, if not maybe the Gear 5, to jump in,
To catch up.
catch up, and see everybody's blind reactions. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, you know, due to the result of this getting delayed a little bit, we are not realistically able to give our blind impressions of this shit.
yeah.
Because I
Um,
mean, I like everybody else that reads One Piece Current, and Misfit like everybody else that reads One Piece Current has been scouring this page for 2 weeks, reading everybody else's ideas, coming up with our own ideas, blending all of those ideas, and still I don't know what the fuck it means.
and still, I don't even think that it's possible for someone to come to the
To
right
come
conclusion
to
yet.
100% the right conclusion. I'm sure that we have gotten pieces of this right.
Right.
But the whole picture is impossible to ascertain, I think.
It is unbelievable. I mean, like, we've had like 4 talks over the past like 2 weeks
Yes,
just about this,
we have
just about this
collectively
mural.
spent about 8 hours talking to each other about this mural off and on over the last
Yeah.
2 weeks. And every
And
time we have new
again,
things to say.
exactly.
And even this
I've
time I
never
have new
spent
things to say.
I've never spent more time staring at one page, or I guess 2 pages of a manga before. I've spent probably a full 24 hours total just looking at this fucking page.
And just trying to parse anything
All
from
of
it.
it. You have the fucking Hellflame Serpent. You have whatever the dragon in the middle is. You have what I think is Zunisha. I've seen a lot of
I'm
people
not convinced. I'm not convinced
very
it's
contentious
Zunisha.
onto whether or not that's Zunisha. But you have a shadowy person with a crown. I wonder who that could be
You have the
on a
fucking
boat
Arc
slash
Maxim.
Zunisha.
You got the
You have the
Noah.
Arc Maxim, the Arc Noah, maybe the Pluton
Maybe the Pluton
as one of these
somewhere,
other
one of these
boats.
other boats. People bringing
You
the sun energy out of the earth. You've got a world tree that's supposedly
the
spawning
world
devil
tree
fruits.
that's where the devil fruit come came from.
The fucking
And you have
moon.
we don't even know if if the third world is depicted here
If the
or if
yeah,
that's
or
just
if
the second world.
yeah, because there's the interpretation that the right side of the mural is the first world and the left side of the mural is the second world. There's the interpretation that the right side is both the first and the second worlds, and then the right is the third world, or the left is the third world. I can't do
Hmm.
directions. I'm too deranged. It's just like who knows where does any of it start, where does any of it end? Why
Exactly.
the fuck is the moon there? Like, and then I think a detail that I have not seen discussed very much, though me and Misfit have certainly talked about it. Why Frankie?
Yes. I think other th I don't think that we're gonna get too big into what we think the mural is. You guys have already seen that. You've
Yeah,
watched all the
you
other people.
you have
What I have
seen
not seen
all the
talked
things
about
that we
enough
have.
is why Frankie, which
Why
I think we have
Frankie?
at least a little bit about.
I'm so fascinated with I don't know. So much Oda is so intentional about using characters in certain places. And
Right.
I have spent a considerable amount of time in these videos questioning why Frankie is doing nothing. And here Frankie is at the literal center of the craziest panel ever in One Piece.
Yeah.
And so why Frankie? Because you could just hand wave it as, oh, well, Frankie has the connections to the Atom Tree, and so that's why Frankie's the one seeing it here. But this mural could have been anywhere. This doesn't
Exactly.
have to be on
That
the Atom Tree. This
it
could have
doesn't
been
have
in
to
the
be on the
Owl
Atom Tree.
Library. And it could have
Right.
just been Robin reading the Harley and seeing the mural at the same time. So
Mhm.
why Frankie?
Why Frankie?
And I wish that I had a concrete answer.
Yeah. There is we don't have a full answer. There is obviously the idea that Frankie is covering something at the bottom of the tree,
But even still, that
which
doesn't need to be Frankie, right?
exactly, there doesn't need to be Frankie. The idea that I have come to, the the theory that I will big swing on is that I don't think that any of these boats that we see fully look enough like what the Pluton would look like. We have boats on the right side that
Yeah,
might be the
that might
Pluton
be
that
the
we talked
Pluton.
about. I I think it's just gonna be Frankie.
Frankie is the Pluton? Is that what you think?
I think that Frankie is the Pluton, or at least will become the Pluton.
And not the Iron Giant? Or do you think that they're the same thing?
Maybe they could be the same thing. That is a possibility. But I think that there's been so much built up between Frankie and the Pluton, obviously, with him being the only one have the blueprints, him having this connection to Vegapunk and the research that Vegapunk was doing, and then, ironically, Frankie's wanted poster.
Is the boat.
is a
is a
boat.
boat that I have previously suspected may be based upon the Pluton blueprints, at least
Right.
partially.
I don't think that, and maybe it is going to be like the Sunny plus Frankie, as like a leveling up
Like a
of like the
fusion
general
of the
Frankie.
Sunny and the General Frankie.
Yeah. Which could also be our version of the Iron Giant of Emmett.
Yeah, I mean, I do think on the topic of the Iron Giant and Frankie, is important to note that his silhouette here in this mural shot is remarkably similar to Emmett,
Yeah. It
especially
is it
with
is
the
really, really
horns and
close.
everything. It's
Yeah.
very Emmett like, and it's just I don't know, man. There's so much to this damn mural,
Yeah.
and so I
It's
think I mean, unless you have more to say on Frankie?
I don't think so. I think that was my last big swing, and I think you have
I have
what I've been waiting for.
what you've been waiting for all week. I promised to Misfit at the beginning of the week that I was going to take a big swing this time. And the mural is what started my thought process on this because seeing the whole like the details about the forbidden sun and like the mother flame and then pulling them out of the earth and it may be like Emu trying to hold on to it and hoard that power and then the theory that maybe the fucking world is a Dyson sphere, which I think is crazy. And if you haven't heard about that, please go find somebody who knows more about that than me because this shit's crazy. And so all of that led me to something else and then that led me to Gnosticism, which is maybe a huge jump. But I want to talk about a theory that I have been cooking for this week that I think rather than being the devil or a sea devil or the forest god or whatever you want to say, and maybe they still are, but I think that Emu is potentially the Gnostic demiurge. So give me a minute to cook here. So I want to
Yeah, before
first
we before you get too much into this, give the viewers a little bit of backstory on what Gnosticism even
okay,
is,
I will get to that in a
because I
second.
don't think that's something that a lot of
That's true.
people.
Not everybody knows about Gnosticism. I will get to that in just a second. I want to preface before I start a few things. One, I have only been able to find one person who has talked about this idea, and it was a single Reddit post from a year ago, and it's missing details that we get in this Elbaph section that were not out a year ago. So I think there's details here that are important. Two, I want to preface this with so Gnosticism is technically a sort of a religious view. It's also some people dispute that it's more of a philosophical view. It's a whole I've been reading a lot of fucking bullshit about Gnosticism this week. Um, but I want to establish that just like basically any other religion, you can cherry pick the pieces and apply them to a story and you will find connections. That's part of how religion spreads. And so that's sort of inherent in the thing. But I think it's interesting enough to talk about because nobody else is talking about it that I want to talk about it. So, Gnosticism, the basic idea of Gnosticism is that there is like a ultimate god that is like it did not create anything, but it's like everything that exists is part of its like grand existence. And the further you get away from like the core, the center of that being, the more things start to have like small errors and stuff. And that from one of those small errors came the demiurge or the creator god that made the world that we live in, and they are flawed by the nature of like their very existence, and so they created the world flawed. It's an explanation for why like the question of like good and evil, like why is there evil in the world, and this the Gnosticism view is like the creator god that made the world is flawed, and so the world itself is flawed. And so there's like a separation between the true God and the God that we have connections with because there's a separation between that, the demiurge, and us. So that's the basic understanding. So
The basic gist of Gnosticism.
I want to read a few. So I got interested in Gnosticism because of the whole like my idea is sort of that the mother flame or the flame at the center of the world or maybe whatever this sun at the center of the Dyson sphere is sort of our analog for the true god. Maybe even Nika, because he has the connections to the sun, is sort of this unknowable. That's why there's so many interpretations of it. Sort of idea, and then
Right.
Emu has used that power to create the flawed world of One Piece that we live in currently, and is trying to control
Interesting.
and use that power for themselves because they believe themselves to be like this ultimate creator and like rule over the thing. So I want to read some details from an article about like Gnosticism generally, and so if anybody is watching this is more familiar with Gnosticism and I get some details wrong, I am sorry. I am not. I don't believe in Gnosticism. I'm not an expert. I
Yeah,
know
please
some.
correct us in the
I
comments
know.
if
Please
we say
correct me. I
something
would love
wrong
to talk
here.
about it. I would love to learn more.
Yeah.
I know details about Gnosticism. I'm not an expert, but I have. So I'm going to read some excerpts here that I think are important. So, flawed consciousness, being created in the cosmos, creating the image of his own flaw. This being unaware of his origins, imagined himself to be the ultimate and absolute God. Since he took the already existing divine essence and fashioned it into various forms, he is also called the Demiurgos or Half Maker. So, like, he literally is taking the Mother Flame and fashioning it into the weapons or into an infinite power source, sort of thing.
Hmm.
There is an authentic half, a true deific component within creation, but is not recognized by the half maker and his cosmic minions, the archons. These are one of the big things for me that made me convinced.
Hmm.
So the archons are. I'm not going to get into big details. Basically, they are kind of like the demiurges, like minions. They are like evil. In some depictions, they're kind of described as like idiotic and bumbling, which is not super appropriate. But what is notable is that in basically every interpretation of the archons, they are related to or tied to the quote 7 planets.
Hmm.
And now you might be thinking, aren't there 8 planets like in the real world? Yes, but in Gnosticism, there's a different set of 7 planets that I think, and this was the moment that made me blew my mind, and then there's more to it after this. And I will establish I have seen conflicting accounts on the archons. In some interpretations of Gnosticism, the demiurge themselves is one of the 7 archons, and then in some interpretations, the 7 archons are all subservient to the demiurge. I am operating under the
Right.
assumption that Emu is not one of the 7 archons, because the one that
Hmm.
would be most closely associated with Emu doesn't really fit. So I am cherry picking. However, let me cook. So the the first set
Cook this cherry pie.
the first set are associated with Jupiter, like Shepherd Jupiter, Mars,
Hmm.
like Marcus Mars, Venus, like I learned the old guy Ethan V Nustro is Venus, and Mercury, like top man Mercury, all there. Then there is
Yeah.
Saturn, and in some interpretations, Saturn is cast into Tartarus.
Oh.
And then you might be wondering, okay, then what are the other two? Because I will tell you, it's not Neptune and it's not Uranus and it's not the Earth. The other two are the moon, and you know who has hair that looks like the fucking moon?
Oh
Federland Garland.
shit.
And you know what the one that's missing is? The sun.
Son.
It's the fucking sun. And so this was the
Yo, he's
part.
cooking.
This is the part where I was starting to go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Let me read you some more excerpts that made me also go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Um, and some of this might be a little rambly because I highlighted a bunch of stuff that I remembered was important, and some of it might not be important in the right order, but we'll get there. So getting to the rest of the world of One Piece. Here's another excerpt. Humans are generally ignorant of the divine spark resonant within them. This ignorance is fostered in human nature by the influence of the false creator and his archons, who together are intent upon keeping men and women ignorant of their true nature and destiny. Anything that causes us to remain attached to earthly things serves to keep us in enslavement to these lower cosmic rulers.
Mm.
Literally, them creating the world like they've been told in history and manipulating the history such that the people of the world, do not realize they're not the true gods of the world. In the course of history, humans progressed from materialistic sensate slavery by way of ethical religiosity to spiritual freedom and liberating gnosis. Um, the world spirit in exile must go through the inferno of matter and the purgatory of morals to arrive at spiritual paradise. Is sort of the idea of like this looping world of us starting in slavery, moving to freedom, and then being pushed back down by Emu again.
Right.
Um, and then I have a detail here, and this is a detail that I think is it's easy to immediately push back on because I think that there is a way to interpret Luffy as the Gnostic interpretation of Jesus, which is different
Mm.
than the interpretation taken by traditional Christianity. Because I think
Hmm.
there's plenty of people who have shot down the idea that Luffy is supposed to be a one-to-one representation of Jesus. I think there's details there that are missing and why he doesn't really work in that sense. But
Hmm.
in the interpretation in Gnosticism, let me read this excerpt here. Gnostics do not look to salvation from sin, but rather from the ignorance of which sin is a consequence. Um, and the decisive revelation of Gnosis is brought by the messengers of a light, especially by Christ. It is not by his suffering and his death, but by his life of his teachings and his establishing of mysteries that Christ has performed his work of salvation. Which I will come back to in a minute. Where is the line? Basically, the idea is, yeah. Gnostics hold that the potential for gnosis and thus of salvation is present in every man and woman, and that salvation is not vicarious but individual. At the same time, they also acknowledge that gnosis and salvation can, and indeed must be, stimulated and facilitated in order to effectively arise within consciousness. This stimulation is supplied by the messengers of light. My idea is that Luffy, as a analog to Gnostic Jesus, as we've seen, he is willing to save people who are willing to save themselves. He is bringing about basically the realization that they can be free
Yeah.
and then pushing for that idea. And then I have a few more notes. Shut up, Windows. I'm sorry about the Windows noise. Um,
Hmm.
if the words ethics or morality are taken to mean a system of rules, then Gnosticism is opposed to them both. Such systems usually originate with the demiurge and are covertly designed to serve his purposes. If, on the other hand, morality is said to consist of an inner integrity arising from the illumination of the indwelling spark, then the Gnostic will embrace this spiritually informed existential ethic as ideal. To me, I see Luffy and Emu in this, in that like
Yeah.
Luffy is a pirate. He doesn't believe in traditional morals. He does what he thinks is right. He has this spark, literally the sun, within him, and is
Hmm.
able to spread this out. I also see like the line from Doflamingo in Marineford, where he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
like the whole whoever wins is justice, and Emu has been winning for centuries. Ethics and morality and justice are what Emu says they are, what the demiurge says they are. And that's not how to
Right.
actually be free, and freedom is everything in One Piece. A few last little
Wow.
notes on that comment. I'm going to read a few more excerpts because I think they're important. They were important to me when I highlighted them. I don't remember all of why they're important now. Rules, however, are
Hmm.
not relevant to salvation. That is brought about only by gnosis. Morality, therefore, needs to be viewed primarily in temporal and secular terms. It is ever subject to changes and modifications in accordance with the spiritual development of the individual. And then one last highlight that I have: Gnosticism embraces numerous general attitudes toward life. It encourages non attachment and non conformity to the world, a being in the world but not of the world, a lack of egotism, and a respect for the freedom and dignity of other beings. Um,
Damn, guys.
so I
Damn,
don't,
guys.
I don't know. I don't,
I'm blown away.
right? I was losing my mind doing this late Monday night, and then I have been periodically looking at other things throughout the week. Excuse me a second, I need to cough. So like I don't know, I'm losing my mind. I don't know how all these pieces fit because I feel like the question is eventually what is Emu? Because I feel like the issue with the my idea here with the demiurge idea is that Emu could still be the sea devil or the cartoon devil or the forest god or whatever you want to make him or make them,
Mhm.
and still be a demiurge like figure who has
Yeah.
created a world in their image that is flawed. And so my question is, what is Emu's goal? Why does Emu want to flood the world? Is Emu flooding the world because they're evil or they're flawed? Are they lashing out on the world not matching their image and being their
Mhm.
quote unquote perfect world that is truly ultimately flawed? And that flaw is what keeps leading to Emu's failure. I don't know. I just like, why
I mean,
is
it is also worth pointing out that Oda is very, very comfortable with mixing
mixing
mythologies and
mythologies? And
mixing,
I think it's very
you
possible
know,
that he's mixing
different
this
aspects
mythology with
of.
other things, like Buddhism,
But I
like
mean, it seems
Norse mythology, like everything is all
right.
connected, everything pieces together. I don't know. And like just I
Well, I
can't
mean,
get past the
with all
ideas.
that stuff about, how Gnostic Christ is like, I mean, he seems like sort of like a warrior of liberation type
Yeah,
guy,
some sort of guy who likes to teach people to liberate themselves and free people or something.
right? And I mean, really, with all of the what do you call them,
The
the minions,
archons, the archons
the archons matching up so perfectly with
with
the elders.
the elders and like the addition of Fierland Garling, because
Exactly.
like that's the thing is like like I point out the guy from a year ago, this is pre Saturn's death and Garling becoming an elder.
Mhm.
You don't have that immediate connection to the archons there that I was able to pick up on. um I don't know, it's just I think it's really fascinating that there's all these pieces here. Oda is obviously very good at mixing mythologies. And then I do want to point out this is not my idea. This is coming from the person who talked about this before and what inspired them to come to the Demiurge idea. I was drawn in by the mural and the idea of bringing the flame out of the earth as sort of pulling from the Gnostic true god's essence to create the faulty world that Emu is doing.
Mhm.
Their pull comes from the fact that the world government and the elders are painted with like divine imagery. They're in the holy land of Mariwa. They're the gods of the world. They're the elder stars, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And like all of these things that are holy but twisted and dark and evil, and that
Right.
is sort of the general idea of the demiurge and the archons.
Right. Mhm.
And then you have like the seraphim who are angels with black wings, right? I
Yeah,
just think
these
it's
fallen angels.
I think it's just there's a lot of interesting imagery here that I think
Mhm.
Oda might be playing with. I wish that I had any idea what it said about where we're going.
Yeah,
But
right.
I because I feel like it's a lot of it is still just Emu is evil and created the world and used the power of the mother flame to do it.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I just think it's interesting and I want to get it out there. My big swing is that at least in some way Emu is the demiurge. Even if
Hell yeah, dude.
and even if he is a cartoon devil or a dragon or a sea devil, that he could be that could still fit into the picture of the demiurge, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my big swing about the mural. I hope that was at least somewhat comprehensible.
I mean, I got it.
I mean, hey, if you got it, that's really all I care about. I'm here to
I'm a dumbass, so
I am the dancing monkey
I'm
that's
sure
making you
our super
understand. So
smart, cool viewers are gonna
I'm
understand.
sure our super smart and incredibly intelligent 11 people who've hit the subscribe button, clicked the bell, um, really understand it more than me. I'm sure. So
I'm sure. Um, with all that being said, I don't think there's much more we have to say on the mural. So let's
yeah,
do
I
this
don't think I
last
have
chapter.
much. Let's clear out the current chapter and we can get to actual like modern up to date thoughts.
Yeah. So after the mural, we don't get shit on it in
No, the
1129 or whatever
mural
the
is not
chapter
even
is.
mentioned in 1139.
1139. Uh, so good. We don't have more to talk
We
about
don't have
there.
more to talk about there this week, at least. And we get introduced to
Yes,
Mr. Ya.
Mr. Ya.
Mr. Ya, also known as Scopper Gaban.
I saw so many people theorizing that he was gonna be here in Elbaph. before he ever showed up, there was like a building in the town with two axes on the door head. People talking about, oh, it's obviously it must be Ripley's husband. I was not convinced until this chapter.
Yeah, I was not convinced until everybody spoiled it because they leaked the damn chapter. Um, anyways, that's my gripe about it. Um, he is such a fun character.
Yeah,
And it's crazy
he's got
introducing a character like this who I correct me if I'm wrong, I believe was introduced in like what chapter 19 or some shit during the Buggy flashback. We
Yeah, I
see
think he's first seen in the Buggy flashback where
yeah, where
Buggy
we
is talking about why he hates Shanks.
yeah, cuz there's like one panel where you see a man who is wearing the same like round black glasses and has two axes like beating them up for
Yeah.
misbehaving or something. And then like 1100 chapters later here he is to be important to the story.
Oh,
And it's so cool seeing another member of Roger's crew,
exactly.
especially after Vegapunk's whole talk and questioning why did they all go into hiding, why did they. So I'm really curious to see if we get anything out of that from Scopper, like why did he go into hiding, because we didn't get a scene where he talked to Scopper. We had the one where he talks to Rayleigh and we don't know what he said, and we had the one where he talked to Shanks and we don't know what he said, but not with
Yeah.
Scopper Gabon. I also think it's interesting that he's got like Wano-esque attire.
Yeah, he
I
seems
have
very, very
seen
Wano coded.
I have seen some theories that maybe he went to Wano after learning that Odin died, and that the scar that he has, like the flame scar, since we know that it was not from the time of being with the Roger Pirates, is maybe from Kaido, from trying to take out Kaido because he learned that Odin had died, but I don't know. It's anything is possible. Um,
I mean, yeah, like why have this guy who's very clearly drawn to have this sort of, the big straw hat, the cloak with the stripes on it like Kinemon.
yeah. And like talk
Why is
about
he
and mention
drawn?
Wano. Like
Yeah.
why do all that if it's not important to the character? But I suppose we'll find out. We don't know. But it's really cool seeing the other arm of the Pirate King and how similar he is to our wing of the Pirate King.
Our left arm, our left wing of the Pirate King,
Cause he's a lover.
Sanji,
He's a true lover.
he's the mountain eater.
Love is for he's the mountaineer. We're not getting into that. Nope. That's for private One Piece theory talk. But
Hey,
he's
hey,
the
you
preacher
you
of love.
guys, if you know what it means, you know what it
If
means.
you know, you know. If you don't know, I'm happy for you, I think. Um,
This
he's just so cool. I don't know. I like Scopper. I think he has a
I
really
like
fun
it's just real
introduction.
I think it's really interesting how different he is from Rayleigh, which like makes sense because he is meant to be, a Sanji-esque, whereas Rayleigh is meant to be a Zoro-esque, or vice versa, however you want
Yeah.
to,
In like
look at
Rayleigh
it.
is like in Sabaody, he's a drunk. He's like, all these sort of things. Similar to how we saw Zoro at the start of Wano.
Right.
And so we get Scopper is like this jovial, he's loud, he's reckless. I just quite like him.
I just really,
I quite like him, and I think that this is another chapter where we have a lot of interesting character choices
yeah.
because we cut back and forth between Luffy, Zoro, Nami dealing with Scopper, and what is it? Usopp, Sanji, Brook, and Jinbei at the party, and
Mhm.
the information about the left arm of the Pirate King is being told to the group at the party. So this like
Yeah.
Luffy has no clue who this guy is, but we're getting all this information being given to, I think most importantly, Usopp and Sanji,
Hmm.
and it's just interesting to me that these guys are not there to interact with him immediately.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm really
And it
curious about
seems,
that.
I'm trying to look through really quick and see if there's any lines from Scopper that like.
There's one that
Stand
I
out?
think is interesting. And this is, I guess, one of the final lines from Scopper in the section. I think is really interesting that
Mhm.
I think will be important moving forward. He
Yeah.
says, this is after they learn that all the treasure's been stolen. He says, "Hey, don't blame me. It's an abandoned castle, the perfect I can't speak. The perfect target for burglars. But look, here's something no burglar would care to take. In other words, releasing Loki is something even the wicked dare not do. So will you still take this key?" I think that's
Yep.
interesting to me.
That is very
And it could
interesting.
just be he's testing Luffy, but I feel it's an interesting idea to present the mortal quandary here. That even the
Right.
wicked wouldn't think of freeing Loki.
Mhm.
Who is this Loki guy really? I suppose is the
And it's
question.
interesting that a guy who presumably knew Roger so well,
That meeting Luffy, he immediately flashes back to arguing with Roger.
right? And he's been here for how many years? He wouldn't have that sort of like connection with Loki or something because if Loki is like Luffy, then Loki is has to at least be somewhat like Roger.
Yeah,
It's interesting
it's
that
really
someone like
interesting.
Scopper, who has been living here,
Would say these things about Loki. But it's also,
right?
he doesn't, we never get Loki, or sorry, Scopper doesn't make a judgment about Loki, the character.
This is true.
He only says that taking the key and freeing Loki is something the Wicked wouldn't do. Which begs the question,
Mm,
maybe it's something that if Loki really is a good guy, maybe it's something that the good guys should do. But
right?
Luffy's not a hero. So,
True. Exactly.
I don't know. It begs a lot of questions. I think Scopper's really interesting. I'm excited for the next chapter.
Yeah, and it seems like he is going to be doing some sort of testing or
Yeah.
training of Luffy,
Yeah, some
even
sort
if
of
it's not as
test.
comprehensive as what he did with Rayleigh.
Yeah. I've also
You
seen
know,
the conversation that he says, "Take it from me if you can," and then maybe this is going to be Scopper playing keep away rather than trying to fight Luffy, and
yeah,
sort of like that he maybe is a specialist in observation, similar to how Sanji is. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
this
yeah,
is going to be him testing whether or not Luffy can keep up and like actually perceive, especially if he's. I mean, if Scopper is really tuned in, I think the news has said that Luffy has defeated Charlotte Katakuri before, and Katakuri is
yeah,
famous for seeing the future. So
exactly.
it may be testing his observation rather than his armament, like he's been
Hmm.
tested in the past, which I think could be interesting.
Yeah,
I'm so fascinated by him being introduced now of all times after all this time.
right.
and
Like he's,
and after
and it
we've
also
been
begs
raised a
the
question
question of
about
like
the Roger Pirates.
we we realized excuse me, last time in Egghead that like all of the other Roger pirates other than Odin, uh, you know, when they
Went into
found out
hiding.
about the truth of the world, went into hiding and took up some sort of job or place that would be safe from flooding.
So why
And
Elbaph?
is that the same as Elbaph? We don't know anything about the what is it, the celestial world of
Yeah,
Elbaph
the I
in
think it is I forget the I think the it's called Celestial World or Astral World depending on the translation. I think. I also think another
is
line
that
that's
why he's
interesting from
here, or is
Scopper.
there something else going on there?
I don't know. Another interesting line from Scopper that you just reminded me, talking about the fact that I mean he is another character that knows what the One Piece is and has been to Laugh Tale. Has a line where he says to Nami, "Young lady, secrets are born to be spread." And yet, for the better part of 20
And
plus
yeah,
years, he's not spread anything about what the One Piece is, or where it is,
yeah.
or why it is. Maybe
Hmm.
by Roger's request, I don't know. But he, more than anybody on Elbaph, except maybe, I don't know, Loki or maybe Shamrock at the moment, has the most secrets that can be spread.
Yeah,
And yet he is the one that points out they're supposed to be spread, or meant to be spread. I don't know. He's just so interesting. I'm so excited to
very
get more than
interesting.
one chapter of this guy
I
because I think he's really fascinating. And
cannot
God,
wait
I'm
till
just
next
I'm
week.
just loving Elbaph so far. Elbaph is so
I
so
am
much
too.
fun. This is so. It's just not what I was expecting out of Elbaph. When I
Not,
learned,
oh, not at all.
I don't know, when did Elbaph start? Like,
I mean, like
like
16 weeks ago
16 weeks
ish,
ago
20-ish weeks ago.
ish. Where was I then? Like Dressrosa maybe? I don't remember. Cause there was like 2, 4, 6, 7. I was in like maybe Whole Cake or maybe late Dressrosa or Zoe. I
Something
was
like that.
so not expecting this kind of. There's so many little mysteries and twists and strange things going on here. I don't know. I guess I was expecting more instant like gra action and Usopp and all this stuff, and it's so interesting that it's playing out in such a different way, and that Oda is using
Hmm.
this thing that he's set up for so long to do something different than you would expect, and I really really like it, and I'm really
Right.
super excited to see where he's going, because I'm so excited to be on the ride with everybody else now. I just love One Piece.
It's really
Um,
good.
do you have any other closing thoughts on Elbaf as it stands as of 11:39?
Um, I don't I don't think so. I think that we
Yeah,
got through pretty much everything that I had.
I think we cover. I mean, I covered my whole Gnosticism talk as best as I
Yeah.
hope I could. Um, I don't know. I just really like this section. I'm really excited for more. Um,
Hmm.
I guess, if you made it to the end, peel behind the curtain, we're probably going to do more discussions with Elbaf after, I don't know, approximately like 15 to 20 chapters, or if another like big moment happens, like if another mural-esque moment happens, we'll probably do a video on it.
Yeah.
But probably taking a step back from One Piece to let the story go for a little bit and then catch up with another discussion uh moving forward for I guess the rest of One Piece, hopefully.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I guess.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Like we said
Stay
earlier, we're
tuned,
probably going to be doing
subscribe.
some maybe
Maybe
some gaming
Xenoblade,
stuff.
maybe some gaming stuff, maybe some other manga anime series. I don't know. Depends on what we want to move into in the future. There will be more, is what I can say.
There will be
Hopefully.
more
I hope
for
there will be
sure.
more. I want to do more. So,
Yeah.
with all that, I think
With all
thank
that
you for
being said,
viewing. If you've made it to the end and didn't click a subscribe at any of the previous plugs, you should subscribe now and click the bell
yeah.
and like the video. And since I didn't say this during any of the other plugs, if you leave a comment that makes Misfit cry, we will put a heart on it. And this is yet another one that's pretty easy because there was Robin stuff. I mean, we cried
Yeah.
like 4 times during the video. We failed every time. You could just like type, I don't know, thank you for living Robin, and like it'll work. It probably just
It'll
worked
probably
right
get
now.
me. Yeah.
Uh, uh,
Uh,
so unless we have any more plugs, I think that is all for us with Elbaf as it stands current with One Piece. Cheers.
and with that being said, cheers.
Cheers.